Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. According to his great mercy, he has caused us to be born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance that is imperishable, undefiled, and unfading, kept in heaven for you, who by God's power are being guarded through faith for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. Join us for the 2025 G3 National Conference here in Atlanta, Georgia on September 11th through the 13th. We hope to see you there.
Grace and peace, you guys. Welcome back to the Standard of Truth podcast, where we discuss all things social, cultural, political, and theological from a biblical perspective. Happy Wednesday to the crew. Welcome to everyone in the live chat, whether you're watching us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. I'm sorry, I keep calling it Twitter. It just doesn't hit the same. So forgive me for calling X Twitter. Or if you happen to be watching us on Rumble, welcome to the live chat. It's been so long, or it seems like it's been a really long time since I have seen you guys. I want to shout out to everyone in the live chat, the coldest live chat this side of the YouTube suburbs. Welcome to everyone who is here. I also want to acknowledge and welcome all of our members. I am so grateful for each and every one of you who have decided to partner with this channel to support the work that I'm doing here. And are we having an amazing time or what? We're having a really good time, and I love you guys so very much. I see that you guys have begun with a spirited debate, not even knowing what we're going to talk about, but people, you know, it wouldn't be YouTube if people weren't contrarian. So I'm so glad to be with you guys on this special edition of the Standard of Truth podcast. Normally, I don't live stream this early. However, my guest today, he's on the West Coast, you guys. And so I wanted to accommodate him and do a show that worked for both of our schedules, because it is very, very important, the things that my guest wants to talk about today. Now, with that out the way, let's just get some housekeeping things out the way. Please go ahead and like this video, you guys. Liking the video is just a small gesture that doesn't cost you a thing, that allows you to support the work that I'm doing here and to tell YouTube that this content is valuable. If you'd like to see me in your news feed and in your algorithm, or if you are interested in ensuring that this kind of content is disseminated to more people, liking the video is just one thing that you can do to do that. So I want to thank you guys for doing that in advance, and disliking the video counts too. So for my, I don't know, it's like a resident hater. Before I even go live, the video always has a thumbs down, and that just demonstrates to me that somebody is watching, and they are watching with envy in their heart. So go ahead and like the video. I love you guys. Thank you so much for doing that. But what else do I want to say? Like the video. I've acknowledged all of my members. Shout out to any of my moderators in the live chat. I'm glad to have you guys here and on my team, and making sure everyone stays nice and cordial and gospel centered. Now, you guys know on this podcast, I spend a lot of time talking about false teachers, right? I talk about the false teachers. We talk about the wolves. We talk about the godless goons and the pulpit pimps. And while I do believe that there's definitely value in doing those types of shows, every now and again, just every now and again, I want to go ahead and I want to take a different approach and take a different turn. And so about a week or so ago, maybe 2 weeks now, I did a live stream where I analyzed a Facebook post by a local pastor. I've been acquainted with this pastor for a number of years, and we see each other in passing, but it was something different about this Facebook post that inspired me to want to address it in a live stream. And in my opinion, I didn't think that the Facebook post was that controversial. However, it caused quite a stir in the Facebook streets. And so if you have not watched that show, I went ahead and I linked it in the description box below so you can go ahead and watch it, obviously after you watch this one. Well, today, I actually have the pastor who sparked such a spirited debate, and Dr. Wayne Cooper will be joining us live today. And I am super excited to share this guest with you all because it is incredibly difficult to find faithful shepherds. It's easy for us to identify the false teachers. And I think, like I said, there's value in doing that so that the body of Christ can be made aware on who to mark and who to avoid. However, you don't need to worry. Why? Because I'm going to be introducing you to one of the faithful shepherds, one of the ones that I believe will get the unfading crown of glory in the last day. And so I want to be introducing to you shortly Dr. Wayne C. Cooper. Now, Dr. Cooper, he is a native of Tampa Bay, Florida. He is currently the pastor of the Lincoln Avenue Christian Church in Pasadena, California. And Dr. Cooper has been serving faithfully that congregation for almost 30 years, you guys. That is a long time to be faithful and to shepherd the flock of God and then to be able to do it well. Not only that, Dr. Cooper, he holds a bachelor's degree in Bible and Pastoral Ministry from Columbia International University. That's located in Columbia, South Carolina. And he also holds a master's degree in Christian apologetics from Biola University. You guys know I love Christian apologetics. It is important for us to know how to defend our faith and to know what we believe and why we believe it. So he has that degree from Biola. And then this past May, Pastor Cooper became Dr. Cooper. Put some respect on his name now. It's Dr. Cooper now. You can't just, you got to put the doctor on it just to seal the deal and to acknowledge the labor that went into obtaining his PhD in ministry from Talbot School of Theology, also at Biola. So, Dr. Cooper, he has an amazingly beautiful wife, Mrs. Connie Cooper, and they are parents of 3 girls and grandparents to 6 grandchildren. So please welcome to the show, Dr. Wayne Cooper. How are you, Pastor?
Oh, April, that was well done. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a blessing just getting to know you through Facebook and seeing your work and seeing your heart for the Lord. So I'm honored to be here with you today.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you reaching out. I had no idea that doing content on that Facebook post, people would have been so interested in it. But when I was scrolling through my timeline and I saw the post, I was like, I don't understand what the problem is. What you said wasn't very controversial. You were in your probably just your personal capacity, speaking as an individual, but you were lending ear to something that was very, very important, and people really pushed back on you. And so what I want to say is, first, I want to thank you for your faithfulness. Thank you for being my guest today. And before we get into the meat and the potatoes of it all, I just have to ask, how does it feel to be finally done with your doctoral work?
Well, it was very challenging, but yes, I am very, very Oh, relieved. I'm very relieved that I got through that. It was a 3-year program, and actually, it's the Doctor of Ministry degree. It's what we call the D-Min.
Oh,
So,
it's a D-Min.
but
My apologies.
yeah, okay, yeah, no big deal because and look, I felt like I went through a PhD because I mean the work was I ended up doing a 200-page dissertation. So
Mm.
believe me, it was very challenging, but I'm definitely relieved. Yes, yes,
Absolutely. Well, it's a D-Min, you guys. I
yeah,
apologize. We had to make that category distinction. And
yeah,
so I want to go ahead and I want to get right into the interview because, as you know, I did a show reacting to your controversial Facebook post. And for
sure.
those, like I said, for those who haven't watched that show, I've gone ahead and I've already done a reaction to it, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up the Facebook post again. And I want to ask you a few questions about
Okay.
it for the audience who did not see that video, you guys. So this is what's going on. I don't hear an echo. Pastor Cooper, do you
Hmm.
hear an echo?
No, not at all.
Okay, so there everyone is saying there's an echo. Hmm. Has on earbuds and you know what? I think I hear what you guys are saying. Oh no. All right, let's see if we can figure out what's going on. Are we supposed to be reading this? Grace Point, mind your business, nephew. I don't know how to fix this. We experienced some audio issues before we went live, and I thought we resolved it. But it appears that it is not resolved. Let me see what I can do. I have my echo cancellation on. Oh, there it is. Oh, that's bad. How is that? Is that any better?
Yeah,
Hello,
I hear you
hello.
well. I hear you well.
Okay, and I hear you well as well. My question is, do you guys still hear an echo? You lost audio for a second. Yeah, I know I went out. How is it now? Is there still an echo? Are you still hearing the loop back of my voice? Turn off your speaker in. I don't. What's in studio? What do you mean? Turn off your speaker in. I don't have. In order for me to hear the show, I always live stream like this. I've done nothing that I normally don't do. She may have to start over. Is it better? Okay, Susie Q, can tell
Yeah.
me, Susie Q, does it sound better? L says no. April, you are not echoing. The pastor is echoing. Pastor Cooper, can you say something?
Hello. Can y'all hear me?
We hear you.
Yeah.
He sounds fine to me, but if the audience is saying there's an issue, oh, it's his room. Not at the moment, no echo. Dr. Cooper needs to speak. The echo is on his end. Pastor is echoing. Yes, it's on Pastor Cooper's. Well, I don't know. I mean, I know he put his
Yeah,
earphones in, the
yeah.
headphones.
Well, it doesn't sound like it to me. Of course, it doesn't. It doesn't sound like it. Yeah.
Hmm. She says there's a slight echo. Um. Hmm. What about now? Is that any better? Yes, there's an echo. Turn down his speakers. Okay, let's do that. I've turned it down. Can you say something, Dr. Cooper?
Yes. Hello.
Okay, they're saying that you need to turn off your speakers. It's
My
his volume.
speakers.
He will hear through earphones. It's
Uh,
external speakers. Um,
well, actually,
I'm.
I don't have any speakers hooked up. I don't.
He says
Yeah.
he doesn't have another speaker
Yeah.
going.
No, this is only through my computer, but I don't have, even though I have a set of speakers hooked in, but they're not plugged in right now.
Right. Well, I don't know what to do. Um, Let me see if me putting on my Bluetooth will help. Let's try that. Oh, now I hear it. Now I hear me. Can you turn down the volume on your speakers, Dr. Cooper?
Okay. Um, um, I tell you what. Yeah. Okay. Hold on 1 second here. I'm gonna go through my system preferences and then see on the sound.
Yeah,
Let me
just
see
turn it
something.
down on your computer.
Yeah. Let me pull that up real quick.
I do not remember what I did when Henry was on the last time. Push mute on his computer. But then he won't be able to hear. Can you turn your computer on mute, or are you playing YouTube in the background maybe?
No, I don't have YouTube. You know what? Let me. No, I don't have YouTube anything like that. Let me. No.
So no YouTube. They're saying it's your external speakers where your the audio is coming out so that you can hear it. Are you able to mute that so that you can just hear? Well, if
Yeah.
he mutes
Yeah.
that,
Wait a
because
minute.
it says the laptop or the whatever your PC is picking it all up.
Well, I'm actually in my system now. I'm getting ready to see what I can in terms of sound.
Yeah, choose headphones and then turn off the rest.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys being so patient while we work through these issues. We experienced some echoing before, but once the two of us no longer heard it, we thought it was resolved. So there's that. And y'all know once I start going in the show, I don't have a clue what's going on unless I check the live chat. And so we've been echoing for a while. And I apologize for that.
Okay. Wait a minute.
There's no audio on the Facebook Live. It could be two microphones from the headphones and the computer. Yeah. There might be a setting on your computer where those headphones are not used as a microphone. It says where it says
Oh, okay.
speakers, choose headphones. Thank you, Dr. Seaman, for that suggestion. I appreciate that.
Okay. So I'm in sound. I'm just gonna cut it down. Okay. How does that? Is any better? Can you hear me?
Oh no, you're fine for me. It's the listening audience that we're trying to trust. They said yes. I believe that it's better. Keep talking.
Yes. Okay. Because I turned the sound down from the internal part. Well, let me do this. Let me put it on headphone. How is that?
Let us go. You guys, can you let us know?
Is that any better? Is that any better?
I don't remember. Dr. Seaman says yes. So we're gonna go with Dr. She says turn it off. It is we don't
Yeah.
Maria, we don't know what it is. Hello everyone. Hey Xavier, how are you? Talk. Dr. Cooper, say something, please.
Yeah. Yes. Can you make sure? Can you hear me, April?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I got everything down and off. Yeah.
Well, now they're saying they can barely hear you. Keep going.
Okay. Well, that's because I turned the volume down. All right. Let me turn the volume. All right. Can they hear me better now?
Blessed Indeed says yes, it's better. Yes,
Okay.
it's better. Okay, I'm gonna acknowledge this super chat. Shout out to you, sister. Thank you so much, Shamika. She says this is the only support I can offer at the moment. Yeah, your mic is too low. I don't know what to do about that. I've turned him up. Say something, Dr. Cooper.
Yes. So can everybody hear me okay? Am I too loud, too low?
Let's see. Okay, so Sister Deidre says the settings/sound, it's better. It's better. Take off the headphones and clear it up. Girl, that the headphones, I asked him to get the headphones because without it, I continued to hear an echo and it was horrible. I couldn't every time I would say something, I would hear it in my ear. And then when I took the Bluetooth out, it's fine to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord. Okay, listen. I don't even remember what we were talking about. Okay, Melanie, I know there's an echo. I don't know what to do. Outside of me muting my guest when, like, he's muted. What'd you say?
Can you hear me?
I ain't never had a problem hearing you. Oh, there's that echo again. Yeah, I hear. It's not that bad.
Okay.
We just couldn't hear you when you were reading his Facebook post. All right, we gonna ride with it. We're gonna ride. So
Okay.
what I was
All right.
doing.
So you can hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. All right. All right. I'm good then. All right.
Yeah, they're saying it's a slight echo. Let me see. I'm gonna
Are we going to appall you with something confidential and disgusting?
Okay. How do I sound now?
I don't know. Something's playing. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. How do I sound now?
Yeah, let me see. The guests are saying that there's an echo. Hold on. Somebody says good enough. Unplug USB for headset and plug in again. How is your headphones connected? Are they connected via
Just through the computer, the little
head,
round little thing.
headphone
Yeah.
jack?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, y'all, to God be the glory. There's nothing I can do. They say that you're good, so we're going with it.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe we'll get better.
before the devil jumped up in this audio, we were discussing the Facebook post that you put up. I'll go ahead and briefly just summarize it and kind of put it back. You guys, can y'all hear me? Okay. So y'all ain't heard none of that. Listen, this whole time I was talking in my most animated voice, and y'all couldn't hear any of that. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, April, I can hear you, but what's showing is the posting, so I don't see you anymore.
Right, because I just have this on the screen. I'm not here. I was just reading. Anyway, oh, God, this is so frustrating. Okay, so this is the post, okay? This is the post where Dr. Cooper was given the business. And I believe that this post was full of grace. He was very, very gracious, but assertive in his position. Parts that I'd like to highlight: the idea that the DNC is trying to perpetuate a lie, that men can become women and that women can become men. They're so confused. They don't know what a woman is. To allow men to go into women's restrooms, to allow men to participate in women's sports, to parade cross-dressers and drag queens in front of our children in an effort to kill their innocence and purity, to give our children puberty blockers, to stop their natural development in order to enforce the lie that they were born in the wrong body and that they must be free to become how they feel. They're in full support of cutting off little boys' penises and little girls' breasts and even removing their ovaries. To continue to promote, advocate, and celebrate the LGBTQ agenda and to normalize what is against nature. To come against the Christian worldview in an effort to silence the truth about their variant lifestyles. These are just a few of the examples of the DNC platform and what they wish to implement in our country. Last Friday, the SCOTUS put a stop to the Biden-Harris administration's Title IX, thankfully, which would have implemented some of the aforementioned evils into the country. I could go on, but I will end my thoughts here. The Democratic Party, this Democratic Party, is not my 90-year-old mother's party, as there is not one thing that I've listed that she would ever support. A short word to those who profess faith in Jesus Christ: you may very well decide that you want to support abortion, support such an evil political party, but you cannot biblically or theologically justify or reconcile supporting the specific evils that I mentioned. You can never bring the God of Holy Scripture and his son into the foolish, perverted, and evil practices that the DNC loves and celebrates. He won't be part of such behavior. Dr. Cooper, those were your words, spoken just a few short weeks ago in a Facebook post that greatly resonated with me. I have lots of friends who are in pastoral ministry, and they're responsible for shepherding lots and lots of people, preparing us to live for eternity. And I thought it was interesting that when you put this post up, some of the backlash that you experienced. And so now that we've, for the 80th time, gone over the post, just to give the audience some context as to what sparked the controversy, I want to give you some time to respond in terms of what prompted you to make this post.
Well, thank you, April. Well, like a lot of people, I did watch, not a lot, but I watched a little bit of the Democratic, National Party, for their annual thing here. And, because I try to balance, obviously, my ministry with, first and foremost, being biblically sound and then understanding the issues from a biblical worldview. Right. So I've always believed, and then let me bring it and make it relevant to the local situation where I live and where I minister, because while we have men who are, I believe, sincere, who want to be good shepherds to their people, needless to say, we have issues in communicating the hard truths to our people. Now, what you will find in my own congregation, and many of my friends are very amazed at it, that I am a registered independent. I always make that clear, but I try to make my decisions politically based on a biblical worldview. Right. So in my congregation, like most Black congregations, you're going to have primarily people who believe and vote Democrat.
Right.
So in my approach, April, when I'm speaking about those hard social issues and things, I understand very clearly that it is not my position or job as to tell people how they should vote.
Right.
But what I want them to know is to understand the implications of their votes. I want them to understand what may be the unintended consequences uh, of their votes, so that if you were to talk to people, they will say very quickly, "Well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe the other." But what they don't seem to be able to splice together is to say, "Okay, but if I vote for this individual, the very things that I say I don't believe in and that I believe is not biblically founded, those are the very things that they're going to implement in the culture." So what I've tried to teach my people is like, understand what you're voting for. So let me just say this briefly. Right now in California, and I think Minnesota is another state, and I think Massachusetts is considering this. But here in California, April, we had a law recently passed whereby if a child decides he or she wants to transition and the parents buck against it, they don't agree with it, they try everything in their power to stop it, the state of California has enacted a law that says that if the children reports that and they tell the authorities, that the Child Protective Services will come to your home and they are legally now empowered to take your children out of your home. And then part two to that is that they will bring you, the parent, up on charges. And so when you think about it, how did that happen, you ask? Who would do that? Who would vote for that? Well, first of all, California is definitely probably the bluest of all blue states. I was sharing with a friend just yesterday about this very law, and he says to me, he says, "Wayne, how did that happen?" I said, "Because people vote Democratic here, and a lot of times it's our own people." I said, "But if you were to ask them, did you intend to vote for a bill that would become law that would possibly take children out of the homes of the parents and bring criminal charges against the parents?" If you would ask people that, April, did you intend to do that? Most people would say no. No, I didn't know it was going to go that far. That's what they would say. But that is what I call the unintended consequences. Because a lot of times we just want to vote because it's Democrat, or because maybe the person who's sponsoring that is black or a person of color, and then we can't look beyond that and we can't see the biblical truth about things. And so we vote the way that we vote. So I felt compelled because as I look around the country, as I travel, I don't see a lot of black pastors in particular addressing the hard truths in our culture. I get it. We want large churches. We want, we're trying to keep up the budget, and we're trying to make sure people are happy with us. And so a lot of us, we see things, but we are not willing to address those hard issues. So I'll close this section by saying I just felt compelled that I needed to write something. And as I write, I always try to write very thoughtfully, prayerfully. I try to make sure that I'm biblically correct and in showing people what it is that I'm expressing. And so
Right.
the unfortunate part is that even people who are professing Christians and people who are in our churches, because I got to tell you, April, some of the stuff that you saw and people writing, some of those people were my own church members. So yeah, so I get it from all sides.
I before I engaged with it, I suspected, I said, these could very well be some of his parishioners. And I know I'm a little sharp and spicy. So I was trying to be gracious, and I felt that the post was very gracious, but I struggled to understand why there was this push to get you to disavow what is written, what has been revealed to us in Holy Scripture, in favor for this subjective view about we should just love and tolerate under the guise of love. I think that's the part that struggled or troubled me the most. Now you said a lot. You talked about this bill in California that's also being promoted in other states as well. And I talk a lot about not sharing custody of my children with the government. And then after that, you said that if you were to ask most of these people who voted for that, if they intended to do that, and they would say no. Why is it that you believe that their deeply held conviction is like, well, I did not know? Are you arguing that perhaps a lot of this legislation is kind of flying up under the radar? Or do you believe that they're out in the open with the legislation, but people are remaining willfully ignorant, and that's why they don't know? Which one would you say it is?
Well, it's probably a combination, but my experience is a lot of the people simply don't read what they're voting for. They don't
Okay.
they don't understand that there is something in this bill that is going to be very detrimental to the community, to the society. What's more important for them, April, is that it's a democratic thing. And sometimes when it involves our people, it's a black thing. And because it's a black thing with a democratic background, and like what a lot of us as people, we all know, we grew up, with our people, at least in the last 60 plus years, the Democrat Party has been our party. So some people will simply not, pay attention to what they're voting for. So that's another thing that I talk to my congregation about. Now, I'll just tell you directly to your question. I have asked that very question. I have asked people things that have happened. For example, let me give you an idea that's going to blow you away. So about 2 years ago, we had a prop, a thing that came up, and listen to this. It was about suppressing gas tax, so that if people voted for it, that the taxes on the gas price could not happen anymore. Well, guess what happened? The people of California voted that down. They voted that down so that now the taxes on gas can still go as high as the state wants it to go. And so when I've asked people the question, like, why would you vote in opposite? And here the people will say, well, I didn't fully understand it. Well, I maybe I misread it. So they don't take the time to read and to comprehend and to understand what it is that they're doing. So our state, if you go in Beverly Hills, West LA, you can see gas prices, April, as much as 7.77 cents in terms of gas
Absolutely.
prices. Yeah, but that could have stopped if we had voted that prop down 2 years ago, but we didn't vote it down.
Right. So it sounds like there is a concerted effort to keep people ignorant so they don't know the issues. And I struggle with this, and I want to get your thoughts on it, because I understand the job of the pastor is to shepherd the flock of God. Your role is ecclesiastical in nature, and it is not political. However, I also struggle with pastors who see what's happening, who know that their congregants are illiterate to the issues of what's going on. And I'm trying to figure out a way. How do you balance saying my job and my calling is to make disciples and to help people to grow in the grace and knowledge of God, but at some point I am going to have to keep my eyes tuned to the streets and tell my people, listen, we're not a political church, but I am concerned about your well-being, why we are here occupying until he comes. this proposition is going up on the ballot and you may not understand it. So let me help demystify the complexity for you, not telling you what to do, but just telling you the implications of if you make such a decision. Do you believe that it is possible for pastors to remain faithful to their call as pastors or elders, but still make an effort to inform their congregants and then allowing the Holy Spirit to do the rest?
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the issues we have, and I think that we have erroneously believed a lie, and let me tell you what that lie is.
Okay.
We believe that when things are discussed, so let's talk about, for example, the issue of gay marriage. Let's talk about, let's say, homosexuality. Let's talk about transgenderism. Let's talk about all these things. Here's the lie that many people have bought into. Somehow we have thought that that is politics, or that's political and not moral. So when we're talking about what is family, that is not political. That's biblical. That's a God thing. God instituted the institution of family, right? So, in my approach to that, April, is exactly what you said. I believe that I need to have a balance, and there are times in our church, particularly when the election gets close, I I would take a Sunday or two to talk about the issues that we're facing. And I would simply remind the people, here's where God is on the issues. So, like, for example, I'll deal with some tough stuff. I'll talk about, hey, what is male and female? Why did God create marriage? I will remind people of that, because what I want my people to understand, you're not at liberty to understand what God says and what he has enacted by creating male and female. And then when we talk about marriage, for example, Jesus talks about it in Matthew 19 verses 4 through 6, and it's very clear about what marriage is. So when I deal with that, I want my people to understand we're not at liberty to do something different because we're in a political climate. And so I think what most black pastors fall into the trap is that anything that deals with controversy, we think that is political. And I don't take that approach. My approach is, if you're trying to change the definition of marriage, that's not political, that's biblical, that's moral. If you're trying to say what is a man and what is a woman, that's not political. And so I think that's the lie that we fall into, is that we say, oh, but I can't talk about that. Why? Because that's political. Well, that's not political. That impacts our lives. It impacts our children. It impacts our grandchildren. It impacts the community. And let's be clear, with our community, black people, it's very important that we understand what family is, and what a man is, and what a woman is, and the right to life, and God's heart for the unborn. It's inevitable that we have to teach that. But unfortunately, many of my brothers in the ministry, they are intimidated by that. And so I just made a conscious decision many years ago, is that I am a pastor, and as you said, I am to teach the people and shepherd the flock. Uh, but I also realize I have a responsibility to teach people the ways of the Lord. And so that's what I've tried to do for all these years. And so sometimes it's been great. And April, like you saw, sometimes I get beat up a little bit, but I'm okay.
Right. Well, yeah, they definitely came for you, and I chimed in a little bit, and then I back out because
Yeah.
Facebook is it robs me of my time and my joy.
Yeah.
So I kind of
Yeah.
stepped away from that conversation and really didn't come back to it. But you said something that struck me. You said that a lot of these pastors, particularly those of the Black ethnic expression, you mentioned that they were intimidated. And when I think of that, that is so the opposite of what it means. If you're saying that you've been called by God to be a shepherd and to pastor and to disciple people, your main job is to not to please men, but it is to please God, because at the end of the day, you want to be found faithful. So to hear a pastor say, a lot of my colleagues are intimidated, that's discouraging, because I'm like, if anyone needs to show courage and a tenacious disposition about them during these times, it is the pastors. Our pastors are supposed to be the voice, the lone voice of objective truth, not because it's your truth, but it's because it's God's truth. And so when you say that, they're intimidated, that's very scary. And I think it has more to do with fear of man, because we really believe that these churches are ours. And you have to, I lovingly, sometimes I wouldn't say that I'm overstepping boundaries, but for a lay person to have to tell a pastor, you do realize this is not your church. This is the church of the living God. Your job is to be a steward. And we can't have intimidated, feckless, chestless cowards shepherding God's people. Now, obviously, you don't do it in your own strength, right? You're doing it because you recognize you've been called by God to do so. But either we believe the Bible or we don't. Either he has called you to do this, and it is not an easy work, or not. Do you and your peers ever kind of get together to try to encourage or exhort to say, well, listen, if I'm saying it and you're saying it, they can't cancel all of us. And then eventually, if all of the churches are on code saying the same thing that is opposite of the narrative that the DNC is pushing, people are going to eventually be like, okay, well, these pastors here are telling the truth, and maybe I have not been looking at this correctly. I know there wasn't really a question there, but I appreciate you saying that these are not political issues. These are actual biblical issues that have political implications. And I understand and realize that a lot of people don't understand that. And that's so confusing to me. I want to shift gears just a little bit. I have to get your thoughts and opinions on the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris. Give me your thoughts. Do you believe that she's good for the country? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so here's what I really believe. I remember now. Let's say the audience don't know this, but next March, Lord willing, I will have been in California for 30 years.
Wow.
So I was here when Kamala Harris got her start. When she became DA in San Francisco, when she became Attorney General for the state, I was here. So let me just say this. Anyone who undertakes a position that requires that they know and understand the position that they're undertaking must have the knowledge that they can run the country, the leadership. So to your question, let me just tell you, Kamala Harris, in my view, just an observation, paying close attention. Are you still there, April?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm just letting you talk.
Oh, okay. Let me just tell you, I think she is an empty suit. I think that she is not knowledgeable. Now, let me expound on that. Excuse me. If you listen to Kamala Harris, now some of us have gotten used to what the media sometimes call her word salads. Okay, a lot of times when she's speaking, she is absolutely not making a bit of sense on anything that she's talking about. Okay, and when it comes to the political issues, when it comes to knowing and understanding the issues, all you have to do is just look at her and listen to her very carefully. It will become quite clear she doesn't know the issues. She doesn't know the issues. She can't speak to the issues. So the other night when she was being in front of CNN, Dana Bash, of course, we all know it was a softball interview. It didn't require much. As she was speaking, and believe me, I paid attention, Notice every time she spoke, she had to look down as if she's looking at notes
She had
and
notes.
things. Yeah, she had all of that. And I'm saying, she says she want to put her record up against President Trump's. Okay, let's look at her record. She was the DA for San Francisco. She was the AG for the state of California. She was a United States senator. She's been the vice president for 3.5 years. Let me just tell you, the things that Diana Bash asked, I could answer those questions, and I've never served in any capacity like that.
Right.
So it's clear that she doesn't know the issues. And here's what's even more sad. All of the people around her know that that is the truth. That is why for these last 40 plus days, they've kept her away from the media. So I want you to imagine this, April, if you could. Imagine Kamala Harris sitting down with no notes as she's in front of a journalist like Chris Wallace
She can't do it. She
or
wouldn't be
like
able to do it.
like Brett Baer.
She's gonna
People
fold.
there's no way she could do well in that kind of situation. And also even in the upcoming debate. Now, I'm always careful. I know that anyone can have a bad day, and I know that we don't ever need to be arrogant and puffed up in pride when we're dealing with someone that we feel is inferior in terms of their knowledge. So
Right.
the only thing I would caution President Trump is that when you debate her, just don't have a haughty attitude, or very arrogant and puffed up attitude toward her, because sometimes when we're like that, even God can intervene and sometimes and bring us to our feet, so to speak, meaning that, we don't do as well as we think. So all I'm saying is she's not knowledgeable enough of the issues to be president of this country.
Right. And I would agree with that. I watched the CNN interview and I noticed how she was pausing and looking down is because she's unable to, she can't think on her feet. That's one thing I noticed. And I also noticed that it's difficult for her to formulate her ideas because she's so inauthentic and because she's full of deception and she knows that she's deceiving. It's difficult for her to just speak off the cuff and just address the question or the issue at hand, because she's BSing her way through the interview anyway. That is very scary. And what concerns me is that women are falling for this. They're falling for the vanity and the symbolism of saying we have the first woman, right? Woman of color. I don't even know how that works, but we'll allow it. Women overwhelmingly are unable to see this. And it scares me that we have a huge percentage of women that are willing to vote for this person without having her demonstrated any evidence of successful leadership in any capacity, but they want to have her there. It's almost like we've been protected so much from the world, just sheltered as Americans, that we really think that we could send someone like Kamala Harris to sit in the White House to represent us on the world stage, and she's gonna do a good job. Like, say what you want. I was never a Hillary Clinton fan. Don't like Hillary. She's an evil woman. But at least Hillary could hold her own and was aware of the issues. And if Hillary had to be in the room with Xi Jinping or Putin, she could do it. I don't need to necessarily agree with the outcomes that she would advocate,
Right.
but if she had to pull a trigger and shoot somebody herself, she would. I don't get that type of, Kamala is very weak. Her voice is weak. Her disposition is weak. Everything about her is weak. And it's a demonstration that DEI, that the left is always advocating for, is such an amazing thing that when DEI is actually enacted and implemented, this is what we get. This is the best that we could get. That is very, 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 very scary. So scary. I just wanted to mention that because it was very, very concerning. how would you engage with your posts really hit home for a lot of people, and they could not believe, I don't know why, that you as a pastor, you stood so firm on the life issue. Why do you believe that there's so many people who profess the name of Christ that still don't understand where they're supposed to land when it comes to the life issue?
Because number one, they've been deceived.
Okay.
They've been deceived, April. Now I got to say something else too that I find, and I think when I was writing it, I kind of knew that this would be an issue. And let me tell you what it is. And I've dealt with my own congregation about it, and I've said to them, to the women particularly, when we talk about abortion and we talk about life, some of you may be a little bit more sensitive because perhaps in your life you had an abortion.
I get that.
But if you ever repented of that, if you've ever come to the Lord in sincerity and repentance, He has not only forgiven you, but He's wiped the slate clean with you. So
Amen.
that won't ever be brought up to you from the Lord again. And so I tell people. So the part two, April, is that they believed a lie about the famous saying, "My body, my choice." So what I've had to learn down through the years, and the Lord has shown me this, and primarily through His Word, and especially when you read Psalm 139,
9.
verses 13 to 16, you see that very clearly, where the baby has his own separate and distinct body. The
Right.
baby is a different human being. And the only thing that the baby can't do when that decision is being made, the baby can't say that the baby wants to live. Hey, what are my feelings? What are my options in this matter? And so, unfortunately, a lot of our women, well-meaning, well-intentioned, but just have believed the lie. And so, the Democratic Party have pushed that lie for a number of years, and they do it and they do it very well. And one final thing about that is, because statistically speaking, our women bought more babies than any ethnic group. Okay, I don't know whether your audience knows this, but I'll tell it. In the state of New York, for example, there are more black babies aborted than there are born. Yeah. And I want to read the scripture if I can, April. I think
Sure.
this will speak to you. In Colossians 2:8, which is where I'm preaching from Sunday,
Okay.
Paul says, "Beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the basic principles of the world, and not according to Christ." So I think that's what has happened. Many of our people have been deceived. They've been lied to. They've been misled, and they have not taken the time to understand the issues from a biblical perspective. Because mostly what we do today is all about our feelings.
Feelings.
It's not about the objectivity of truth, but it's about how do I feel. Yeah.
Right. I'm glad that you brought that up. I just want to take a short pause. I've got to acknowledge a few super chats.
Yeah.
Hey, Willie Dog, good to see you, brother. He says, thanks, April, for the biblical content. Keep on. My pleasure, dear brother. That is my Morehouse brother in the Lord, and I'm so grateful for your support. Thank you so much for stopping by, Brother Willie. We also have Lachelle Harley Jones. Thank you so much, beautifully, for your generosity. She says, we need to look up what it means to love and be a family. Obviously, the left assaults the definition of family, and they've come up with these new variations and configurations. And I think it's important for Christians to have a robust understanding of what a family is from the scriptures, and then to liberally share that information, because I worry that soon definitions are becoming so skewed that people really don't know anything anymore because everything is so subjective. So thank you, Sister Lachelle. I completely agree with that assessment. We have another super chat from Chow Young Cat. Hello, friend. He says, have I become your enemy by telling you the truth? He quotes Galatians 4:16, one of my favorite verses where the Apostle Paul is talking to the Jews to tell them, you don't have to do all this stuff, keeping the law. It is Christ plus nothing else. So thank you so much, Brother Chow, for that. And he follows up with another one. And he says, for just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members don't all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others. That is Romans 12, verses 4 through 5. Thank you so much, Chow, for that exhortation. I greatly appreciate it. We also have another one from Chris Creative. Thank you so much, Brother Chris, for your super chat. He says, Tulsi Gabbard is helping Trump prepare for the debate who destroyed Kamala in the Democratic debate in 2020. The sisters want an AKA sworn in by a DST on MLK Day. I'm glad that you brought this up, Brother Chris, because it speaks to the superficiality and just the empty symbolism and the mindset of some women versus the other side. Tulsi is doing debate prep to make sure that President Trump is well versed on the issues and that can address these issues and communicate them to the American people in order to earn their vote. And here on the other side, Kamala doesn't have to earn your vote. All she has to do is know how to ski-wee and do a little stroll and have Ketanji Brown Jackson, who doesn't even know what a woman is, swear her in on MLK Day, who wasn't a Christian and was a Marxist, socialist, communist. I mean, we are really struggling here to really think through this and think logically. But thank you, Brother Chris, for that. Chow Young Cat sends another super chat to support the channel. Thank you, Chun. He says, but Peter and John replied, which is right in God's eyes, to listen to you or to him? You be the judges. That is Acts 4:19. I think this is an exhortation to remind the people of God that we don't do what is right in our own eyes. We need to We want to judge all matters. And yes, the word judge is not a dirty word. We are called to judge righteously with righteous judgment. We should be listening to what is written, what has been preserved for us in God's word. And then lastly, we have blessed indeed. Aren't we all blessed indeed? Thank you so much for this generous super chat. What a blessing. I'm so grateful for your love and support of the work that I'm doing here. It sounds as if you guys are enjoying my guests. I am sitting here with Dr. Wayne C. Cooper, pastor out in Pasadena, California. It is Pasadena, California, right?
Yes.
Did I mess it up? Yes.
Yes.
He's been faithfully shepherding the flock of God, and it's a thankless job. You guys, October is Pastor Appreciation Month, so if you have a pastor in your life that is just wanting to be found faithful and that doesn't always tell you what you want to hear, but just echoes what thus saith the Lord, please remember to think of your pastors and elders this October. Get them a nice little mug. I have a mug over at the Standard Home and Living Lifestyle Store where you can go and grab that mug to appreciate your pastor, or buy him a t-shirt or a new pin or a tie. I don't know. Whatever it is that your pastor likes that would bring him joy and make him feel appreciated, because being a pastor sometimes is a thankless job. You have to tell people when they're wrong, and nobody wants to hear that, but it's what he's been called to do. So keep that in mind for the month of October as Pastor Appreciation Month. You got a whole month to just share thanks and to love on them, because I believe it does encourage them greatly. Moving right along, we've talked a little bit about Kamala. We've talked a little bit about the issues with the platform. You've indicated that you are a registered independent, which I think is a good place at this point for the Christian to be. How would you answer Christians who are hearing what you're saying? They're like, okay, he says he's not a Republican, but 9 times out of 10, he's probably going to cast his vote for the Republican Party. Can you explain to individuals the importance of not emphasizing the person, but looking at the policies and why such a distinction needs to be made? Like, how can you help unpack that for just the average person who struggles to think in those kinds of categories? Why is it that they think that this is a popularity contest and we're supposed to be picking the one that we like? Are we supposed to like our representatives?
Yeah. So very good question. And in fact, one of the persons that you acknowledged, I think Chow, he said something that maybe I can start off with your question. So yes, there is the person, and then there is the policies. Okay.
Okay.
Now I'm speaking as a Christian, so I'm assuming that's who I am talking to. So
Right.
so no matter whatever happens in what's on the ballot, who's on the ballot, my first thing is I want to know what the policies are so that I can know how to look at those things through the lens of a biblical worldview. So that's where I am. That's where I want to start. I understand the human dynamic about how we've been taught and what the our tradition is and things like that. But Chow said something that was important, and this is what I've taught our congregation. So I want to give an illustration here. So let's say, for example, if we're trying to decide how do we feel about marriage. Okay, and I realize that the Supreme Court has made an erroneous rendering to the biblical understanding of what family is and what marriage. But watch this.
Right.
So one of the things I tell our people, okay, so let's ask the question, where is God on this issue of marriage? So we go in the Word, we see that God created male and female. He brought them together. We could say that God performed the very first marriage ceremony. He brought Eve to Adam. So God has made it clear. This is what family is. Even in the Ten Commandments, honor thy mother and thy father. God is defining what family is. Okay? So every child has a mother and father. Now, so the question then that comes out of all of that is this. When I vote, do I want to be on God's side on the issue, or do I want to be in opposition to God? In other words, for me, I look at it in a real simple way. Do I want to vote against God's way? So I know what's right. I know what the word says. I know what I understand. But am I in a position whereby I can vote against that? That I can say to God, God, I'm sorry. That may be what you put in place, but I'm sorry. That's not how I feel. So I got to vote against you. So I think that is problematic. And so it comes down to policy versus personality, but I think you got to weigh that against a biblical worldview. So if you were to lay out all the platform of the Democratic Party, and then you lay out the platform of the Republican Party. Now, while neither party is perfect, and while the individuals representing both parties are far from perfect because they are obviously fallen human beings.
Right.
But when I look at the platform, I have to ask myself, now, what platform that's going to keep me as close and as near to the Word of God as possible? And that's how I make a decision. And so I think that that's what, as Christians, as believers, we got to look at it from that perspective. So let's ask ourselves, the God that we believe in and serve, is he for transgenderism?
No.
Is he for women, men going into women's bathrooms pretending like they're women? Well, we know that. Is he for little boys having their private parts cut off, or their little girls? Is he for any of that? Well, we know the answer is for that. Is he for is he for just killing a baby for no other reason than that baby was unexpected or inconvenience, and all of a sudden, hey, this woman said, I don't want to be pregnant because that's going to somehow inconvenience my life and what I want to do. Is God for that? And the answer is an emphatic no.
No.
So, as a follower of Christ, I cannot make myself say, okay, I know what I know and I understand what I understand, but I'm still going to vote for that anyway. So I don't believe a sincere believer can do that. So for me, I'm going to always side on the platform, and with the understanding the platform is not perfect, but it is the closest thing to a biblical worldview.
And I'm so grateful that you were able to articulate that in a very masterful way to make it clear, because I understand how difficult it is for a lot of people to associate. I don't even know why we got to use the term association. I think all of us have this unhealthy preoccupation with political parties or personalities. I don't understand, why aren't we looking at, these are the applicants. These are the people who are applying for a job, and you are part of the recruiting team. You are in HR, human resources, and you've got to look through all of the resumes that have come across your desk, but you're not the only one doing it. Why are we struggling? We don't do this in any other environment. If you were running a company and someone like a Donald Trump applied, you don't really know him personally. You're just checking his records, looking at the outcomes and how he has performed and what he has done. The question needs to be, can this individual, this candidate, do a great job? If we were honestly looking at who we would hire to run a company or a corporation, I don't believe people would struggle with this. They would just look at the resume, look at the outcomes and the results, and Kamala wouldn't even got to the top of the list. She would have been ignored, just based on the outcomes of how we need this corporation, i.e. the nation, to perform and function. She would not be considered. But for whatever reason, we struggle and we're caught up in the cult of personality. And as Christians, I don't even know why this is hard for us, because if we really believe in the depravity of man and the sinfulness of our hearts, we would know both of these candidates have issues. They're all fallen sons and daughters of Adam. And if you're expecting them to respond as if they have the fruit of the Spirit, something's wrong with you. They're responding according to their nature. They're doing exactly and acting how they are supposed to. The question is, these are the options that you're presented with. And as a Christian, why won't you be honest with yourself and look at the policies and just on the basis of what's presented, do what Pastor Cooper has said and say, well, no, I can't. I got to pick what's going to be on the closest side that God would be pleased with based on the outcomes that each of them are advocating. I agree with what you said, is that you need to ask yourself, will I be in opposition to God? Because that, at the end of the day, is all that matters. And I'm so concerned and disheartened because a lot of Christians are willfully supporting their own demise. And at this point, they cannot claim ignorance. The information is out there. At this point, something else is at work. And I don't know. I do believe that there is a spiritual component to this, and we are in a spiritual battle. I don't know if you want to lend any commentary to the fact that we're fighting this cultural war, this spiritual war on a cultural battlefield. Do you have any thoughts from that perspective about what we're up against?
April, it's a couple of things going on. Now, this first part may be a little tough, and I hope the audience will be to hear me out. So, I don't mind telling you, last week, Monday, I turned 65 years old. So I've been around the block a time or two. I'm from the deep south. I was literally born right smack dab in the middle of the civil rights struggle. I
Okay.
know what it's like. I know what it's like to go to a movie theater and have to sit upstairs because they wouldn't allow us to sit downstairs with the white population. So I know all of that. I've seen signs, colored here or whites only. I mean, I'm from Florida. I often tell people when you look at Florida today, a lot of people may not see Florida as part of the Deep South because when you think of Florida, you sometimes think of South Beach, where all the celebrities like to hang out. But believe me when this guy tell you, Florida is the Deep South, even still. And I want to say this: one of the things that I see that's happening, and I think it is spiritually, informed, and that is there is this war where a lot of our people, April, are being taught to hate white people.
Mm.
We are seeing that more so than any time in my life. Even when I was coming through growing up, the first 10 years of my life were in the 60s.
Right.
I was born in 59. Of all the times in my entire life, I have not seen whereby now there is this hatred towards white people like we're seeing today. And
Right.
and it's being fueled even by like the Democratic Party, by race hustlers and things like that. So for a lot of our people, to the point you were making, the one reason why they cannot look at the issues and look at it from a biblical perspective, because if it means a black person or a person of color versus a white person, for the most part, they're not going to give the white person the benefit of the doubt. They don't care what the black person believes. They don't care what God has said. That will not be the priority. What would be the priority is that they hate white folk, and that I'm going to vote the other way. Even though Kamala is an empty suit, she doesn't know anything, she's inept, you name it, she is that, and she cannot lead. But for many of our sisters, that's not going to matter. That's if you would ask many of our people, what do she believe about A? What does she believe about B? They're not going to know, and they don't care. And yet, on November the 5th, they will cast their votes for her. And so I think it's spiritually, there's a spiritual warfare going on, and so the devil doesn't care how he destroys people. So the obvious way he can make us blind and we can reject God and His Son Christ, but there's also that part of us that he's working on, and that is to get us to hate one another as at different ethnic groups. Because I'm telling you, if in the last ever since Obama came on the scene,
Right.
really, now I want to tell you something that's not said often. We have erroneously believed that division in our country started when Donald Trump became president. It actually started more so when Barack Obama became president.
Right.
Even though April, he could not have won one time, let alone two times, he could not have won the presidency if it were not for the white vote. Okay, so but there was division, and anytime anyone disagreed with Barack Obama, they were generally called a racist. And then black people, when we disagreed with them, we were Toms and Coons and all of that. And so now that Trump is in office, has been in office, and now is running again, um, the media has taught us how to hate this man. Think about it. In your lifetime, have you ever known any person who's running for a public office like this has been so hated, so maligned, so denigrated like Donald Trump? But yet, let me close it. Let me close my thoughts with this. Yet, I remind people because they usually don't know. Remember Donald Trump when he was on the left, when he was a
They loved him.
Democrat. He was their darling. He was loved. He hung out with the Oprahs, with the Quincy Jones, with the
The
Mike
rappers.
Tysons, and with the Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons, and he hung out with them. He gave money to their organization. He and Hillary and Bill Clinton and his wife, they were all good friends. Their daughters were very best friends. All of that. So what happened, you ask? Why all of a sudden are we now calling him a racist? Now remember, April, he was the host of The Apprentice for 14 years. Well, NBC or CBS, whichever network allowed him on there, all these years, do you notice no one called him a racist?
Never.
He was not being called a racist or misogynist and all of this other stupid stuff. But now, all of a sudden, he runs as a Republican and he beats the left's darling in Hillary Clinton. And here's my final say. I've always said this. I don't think in this country, April, that we will fully understand how much the left and the establishment wanted Hillary Clinton to have the distinction of being our nation's first female president. I don't think people will ever understand how much they wanted that to happen. And when it did not happen, they decided Trump was the culprit and we're going to hate him from now on. So the only reason why they're behind Kamala the way that they are is because they hate Donald Trump, and that is it. So yes, there's definitely some spiritual warfare in the background.
I love how you articulated that, Dr. Cooper, particularly the part about the hatred in the heart that is driving this decision. I talk on this platform a lot about the gospel and how it is the gospel is the reconciliation that we all claim that we want. You cannot have it apart from the gospel. But more importantly than that, if they can get us to hate one another on the basis of ethnicity, just like you said, it doesn't matter what this person says. If they are white and they position this white person against a black person, there is a segment of our population that is going to hate the white person because we've been told and trained to just hate white people. And I think Christians have done a disservice because we have not been more vocal speaking out about this because excuse me, we're the only religion where there is this, excuse me, this unity that we have. And it's irrespective of our ethnicity, our ethnic expression, where you come from, what gender you are. None of those things matter. And I would just love, excuse me, I would love for more pastors to be able to speak more openly about what Christ actually accomplished on that cross in reconciling not just us back to God, but to each other. Yeah. I think that is probably the most powerful message, because when you hear that message, how do you explain how you can have a church with a white pastor or a black assistant pastor and Asian deacons? And I'm not saying that churches need to go out and artificially build this, but the church of the living God is supposed to exemplify the unity that we have in Christ. And we're not supposed to be looking at these existential realities such as these dermal features, such as our skin color, or your gender, or how much money you have. If you think about when we celebrate the Lord's table, or at least how it was celebrated in the New Testament, how you have Jews and Gentiles partaking of the body of Christ, and the wine signifying the blood that he shed for us. And it was unheard of for these two groups to break bread with one another and to be caught in any sort of meaningful type of fellowship. The gospel accomplished that. And it didn't require no feet washing. You didn't have to kiss the ring. You didn't have to do any of these things other than to bow the knee to Christ as Lord, acknowledge that you are a sinner, repent of your sin, and your sin is atoned for, even the sin of hatred in your heart towards your brother and fellow image bearers. So I don't know. I'd like to probably close up with this by having you talk to the audience about how the gospel is a unifying message, and that how Christians, how we're in this unique position to lead with that message to combat this foolishness. But I'd like you to do it in your own words, if you will, to help us close out this show.
Sure. Well, thank you, April. It's been great being here. So, as you said, the gospel of Jesus Christ, when Jesus died on the cross, in fact, Paul speaks about it. When you were talking about being reconciled back to the Father,
Yes.
remember, Paul says that God has given us the ministry of reconciliation. And that message is what? Be reconciled to God. Now, how is that possible? Well, the gospel obviously addresses the sin issue, the sin problem that man has. When we think about racism, for example, and bigotry, what is it? It is a sin problem. It is an issue of the heart. And when the gospel is applied to an individual, no matter what his ethnicity is, the gospel, and as that person begins to understand the God who made him and who saved him, he'll begin to see the world through different lens. He'll begin to see people through a different paradigm, meaning that, hey, I am not superior to anyone, I am not inferior to anyone. I was created in the image of God and his likeness, and God has saved me by his grace. He sent his son to pay the ultimate price in paying my sin debt. And now, through repentance and faith in him, I've been reconciled to the family of God, and thereby I am reconciled to my fellow believer who may be of a different ethnic group. So, if we understand that message and if we embrace it for all it's worth, that should take away a lot of the ill feelings that we have towards another person simply due to their skin tone or their ethnic group or where they come from. And so I think that if we can understand the gospel and understand who Jesus is, and remember that the Bible is clear that God is of no respect of persons. So if you are available to God, God will use you for his glory. And of course, we have many testimonies in our own community of great men and women whom God has used and will continue to use when they understand that my skin color, my ethnicity takes the background when it comes to my being a member in the family of God. And so I just pray that we can understand that. But that is the key, because that is what the gospel seeks to do. The Bible understands that we are all fallen and broken. Some people that were raised to hate other people and all of that. But I'm a witness. All of that can be changed and transformed when people from all walks of life, all different ethnic groups, can come to faith in Christ and allow him to be the Lord of their lives. So I hope that that can register with people who are listening today.
I believe that it will. Thank you so much, Dr. Cooper. You've been a fantastic guest today. It's good to take a break. I talk a lot about false teachers because there's so many of them, but to highlight a faithful shepherd who is on the front lines trying to combat this cultural assault that has now crept into the church. It's just been a breath of fresh air. I'm sure my audience has greatly been edified and just uplifted by having you speak from the heart, speaking to these issues and keeping it so simple and so plain. I know it's going to be an incredible value to them. Thank you so much for taking your time out today. You guys, it's been an amazing show. I'm going to go ahead and let Dr. Cooper go ahead and proceed on with his day. And I'm going to stay behind with you guys and chat with you a little bit. Once again, Dr. Cooper, thank you so much for being my guest. You always have a home here on the Standard of Truth podcast. Oh, before you go, do you, if you don't mind, I don't know if your church is on YouTube. A lot of my subscribers Oftentimes they're looking for a good Bible believing church. If you just want to shout your ministry out and tell us how we can either learn more about you or find more about the church, go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, we do have a recording on YouTube. It's called Fresh Encounter Ministries, Fresh Encounter Ministries, and then the initials LACC, which stands for Lincoln Avenue Christian Church. So Fresh Encounter Ministries, LACC, and we're on every Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So this Sunday, I think the people would love it. I'm going to be talking about having a biblical worldview. And I'm going to be talking from Colossians 2:8 and talking about where true transformation comes from. And it comes from having a biblical worldview.
That sounds like that is going to be amazing. As you guys heard, you can find Dr. Cooper's ministry on YouTube at Fresh Encounter Ministries, LACC. If you're on the West Coast near the Pasadena area and you're looking for a good solid church, or if you have friends or family members who are in that area and they are feeling like they're in a theological desert, this is one option that you can explore where you will be faithfully shepherded by someone who loves God and his word. So once again, thank you so much, Dr. Cooper. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Right. God bless you.
God bless you.
Thank you. Awesome. Hey, you guys. Wasn't that incredible? I thoroughly enjoyed learning and hearing more about Dr. Cooper. It is so important for us to elevate these kinds of voices because the marketplace of ideas is full of a lot of toxic tomfoolery that isn't grounded in scripture. And I never want to bring somebody on that's, want to talk about their season, harvest, favor, breakthrough, increase, your blessings on the way. You just got to receive it. No, we believe in a faith that is rooted in an objective truth. It's not void of emotion, but it's not led by our emotions. And so to sit down with the pastor and just hear him articulate his thoughts in terms of what he sees going on and how he's what he's doing to combat against it was just simply amazing. I want to shout out, thank you, Natural Health Nomads. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. We had some audio challenges in the beginning and we was struggle streaming, but I'm hoping we managed to work through it. I have a few super chats that I want to go ahead and acknowledge. Sister LaShawn, thank you so much, love. She says, yes, I am a pastor's granddaughter and love pastors. Word-footed pastor. She had to give that qualifier. She says, pastoring is hard, but blessed. Stay strong, pastor. Thank you for speaking out. I am sure that warms his heart to hear. Like I said, being a pastor is a thankless job, and we have so many in the pulpit right now who are compromised and aren't worth a darn. And so they would sell their soul and the souls of their congregations, and they're actively doing it for way less than 30 pieces of silver because they do not represent our Lord or his message. So thank you, Sister LaShawn, for that super chat. Chow is back. Chow is back and says, there is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male and female. For you are all one in Christ Jesus. That is Galatians 3:28. You guys, that is what the gospel does. The gospel unites us based on the unity of the Spirit that we have by the shed blood of Christ. We've had our sins atoned for. We've been justified. His grace has been applied to us, and we have been given a righteousness that is not our own. And I love when Chow leaves these verses in the super chat because it just, one, is encouraging, and it's a wonderful exhortation to remind us to keep the main thing, which is Bible over everything. I don't care about your feelings. I need to know what is written, because that is what is objectively true and what I can take to the bank. Chow sends another one. He sends a thanks with written on top of a purple heart. Thank you so much. Your support means so much to me, and it's allowed this channel to grow and expand and to do other things. I'm just so grateful for that. You guys, I thought about going live tonight, but that doesn't make any sense to do that because I'm already here. And so since you guys are here, I figured what I would do is do the show that I was going to probably do tonight. We're going to completely shift gears because I have so much catching up to do. April just coming in. Hey, Trey, good to see you. Shout out to the Alabama Minority GOP in the house. A wonderful group of people that I've had the pleasure of getting to know and to do some speaking for. They are an amazing group who took great care of me. Shout out to you, Brother Trey. Susie Q has already left the link to Dr. Cooper's church in case anyone is interested. I think you would be blessed to be, shepherded by a faithful shepherd such as Dr. Cooper. So thank you so much, Susie Q, for that. You guys, there's been so much going on, and I'm so behind, and so we have to do a little catching up. But before I do that, if you are in the North Carolina area, specifically the Raleigh-Durham area, you guys, I will be in Raleigh-Durham October the 15th. And the reason why I'm bringing this up, because it has something to do with what I want to talk about today. But if you missed it, a few weeks ago, I hosted a private screening of the documentary, Will You Go to Hell for Me, by Vince Everett Ellison. And when I tell you, that film has been so instrumental in my journey and just helping me round out. I know that I'm a Christian first, but the conservative message that I do tend to push on this channel is because when I want to discuss things from a social or cultural or political perspective, I think it's important for us to listen to voices who have done the hard work, who have done the research, and who want to expose us to the truth of what really happened in the civil rights movement. Why does it seem that the trajectory that this country is on, we're on this downward spiral? Why are we talking so much about Marxism? Like, what the heck is Marxism? Why is communism on the tip of everybody's tongues? And why are people calling Kamala a comrade? What do these terms mean? What is this all about? And so I'm working on Florida, nephew. I am working on Florida. I was trying to get down to Florida at the beginning of November because I'm already going to be there, perhaps the Tampa area, but those details have yet to been ironed out yet. But I am working on going to Florida. But what I wanted to tell you guys, I was inspired and encouraged after I watched that documentary. As you guys know, I've had Vince Ellison on the show before. One of my most favorite interviews because it was just so impactful to have both of us just discussing MLK and the civil rights movement and the Democrat Party. And so when I hosted the event here in Atlanta, it was like a little pilot. I didn't know how it was going to go over. The whole thing could have fell apart and just bombed on its face, but it didn't. The people showed out. I had a very limited space in a theater to showcase this film. But everyone who saw that film said that it really made them think and they learned something that they had not learned before. And since the two of us teaming up together in that capacity was such a success, we had some friends in North Carolina like, well, y'all need to bring it. Y'all got to bring it to North Carolina. So we've officially set the date for that. It is October 15th. Vince Ellison and myself, the April Chapman, the Standardoftruth podcast, and the Vince Everett Ellison show, we are going on the road, taking Will You Go to Hell for Me to the Raleigh-Durham area. And I will be announcing very, very soon the venue of where that's going to take place. I'm going to be rolling through Upper Room. I'm crafting my trip so that I can make sure that I am worshiping with the Upper Room Church of God in Christ on that Sunday. So October the 15th is a Tuesday. And that Sunday, I wanted to go to worship at Bishop Wooden's church since I'm going to be in his hometown. And a little birdie on the street told me that he's going to come to the premiere, the showing of the film. And it's just going to be an amazing time for me to get out of my element of being cooped up in this hot studio with all these bright lights and just engage with the people and to take the podcast on the road and to get this message out to people who have never seen it or have never heard of it. I believe in this work that much. And so I'm so grateful for your guys' support because it allows me to step away a little bit to do these events on the road. No. The theater, listen, okay? Now I'm from the hood, but I'm not taking the theater, the show to the hood, you guys. No. Oh, Danielle, you go to Upper Room. Shout out to you, beautiful. Yes, we will be there. We will be there Tuesday the 15th is the film that evening at 6:30. And we're going to be into the movie theater till about 10:30 at night. But the Sunday before, I will be there. Donovan, thank you. Okay, so I am welcomed in Tampa. Yeah, Bishop Wooden, he bringing the pain. And I'm so grateful for his faithfulness because when you decide to stand on your square you will oftentimes find yourself standing alone. But I am committed to celebrating and highlighting and bringing attention to purposeful patriarchs, men who are willing to say the things that need to be said, to wake their people up, to stand on the word of God without apology. Because I believe those are the men that are making the sacrifice to save, not in a salvific sense, but to save this generation from this calamitous culture of sin, secularism, and savagery. That's what we're dealing with right now. When am I coming to Nashville? Good question. I absolutely love Tennessee. I want to make my way, if not to Memphis, perhaps Nashville. We will see. We're currently working, me and my team are currently working to try to figure out, where there are large concentrations of you guys, so that when we at least come to the city, people who have already heard of the show are going to come, and then we can expand and have new people who've never been exposed to us actually hear what we have to say as well. So yes, Florida is on the list. Tennessee is in my purview, but no date has been set for that. October the 15th, Brother Thomas, is when we are going to be premiering Vince's film in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. I will be posting that pretty soon, and I'll do an ad. I'll run a few ads on the channel so you guys will know when that's going to happen. So if you're in South Carolina, it's not that far. Come on down. If you are in the Charlotte area, Huntersville, Concord, Cary, Raleigh, Durham, Fayetteville, Greensboro, y'all need to make your way to come see your girl, because I want to see you. I want to do a shout out, take a selfie with you, and just touch and love on y'all, because you guys have been so supportive. But I wanted to mention that, which I see some Floridians in the chat as well. Absolutely. Yeah, we are doing a tour. That essentially, I've even named the tour, you guys. You guys are going to be the first ones to hear this. My midday live chat attendees, we're calling it the Unshakable Tour Live. That's the name that I've put on it. We're expanding. It's going to be more than just the film. We want to actually turn it into kind of like a workshop, seminar, conference hybrid, where it's a little bit of all of that. So the Unshakable Tour Live, you guys heard it here first. That's what we're calling it. And I will be joined on the road with Vince Ellison, just a faithful man of God who is so committed to waking people up, to speaking the truth about history. Like these facts are some inconvenient things, and a lot of people don't really want to deal with the history of the Democrat Party. They don't want to deal with the history of, was the civil rights movement, did that help us? Did it really move us forward in a meaningful way? He answers a lot of those questions, and that's why we're going to be talking about that today. So I've let you guys know that we're taking the show on the road. I'm partnering with the big homie, Mr. Ellison. And it's so funny because, as you guys know, Vince has done Tucker. He did an amazing 3-hour interview on Tucker's platform, and it's gaining a lot of traction along with the film and along with his books. And then the other day, I get this text. So y'all know we've been talking a lot. We've been talking a lot about what I would call the Afrostocracy, right? The Afrostocracy is this expression of Black elites who are your pastors, your politicians, your pundits, your preachers, and your professors, who their main job is to gatekeep for the lefticals, right? The liberal left, to gatekeep and to ensure that the narrative of the left and the narrative of the Democratic Party continues to be propagated in the world, because we can't have too many of you Negroes functioning in your freedom. Now, while I recognize my audience is not just primarily Black people, everybody is welcome over here. My brothers and sisters, the white ones, the Indian ones, the Asian ones, the Hispanics, we're all welcome here. But I want to peep game. I want to introduce you to, if you've never heard me use that term before, the Afrostocracy. I'll repeat it again. It's the 5 Ps. It's the preacher, the professor, the pundit, the performer, and the politician. And these are melanated individuals who hold elite positions of power, who are always wanting to remind you and to tell you about this white supremacist system, you know, like that system that they navigate in just fine and have managed to build a life of wealth and prosperity for themselves, all the while selling you victimhood. You know, you got people like Joy Reid and what's the boy name? The basketball used to play for Ohio. Now he plays for the LeBron James. Y'all can tell I am not a sports fan. I couldn't think of that man's name to save my life. But people like LeBron James and Charles Barkley and even Stephen A. Smith, these people who they want to be so in tune with the people and down for the culture, but, you know, power to the people. But they're always selling you this victim narrative. But it's amazing how the narrative of victimization and white supremacy has yet to affect them, because they have no problem rising up to the ranks of success and experiencing American capitalism, but they want you to vote for your own demise and to support socialism and the transgendering of children and the effeminization of our men. So I bring all of that up because a couple of days ago, my friend, Mr. Ellison, did an interview, I don't even think it's been out yet, with Ben Shapiro, and had a phone conversation with Patrick Bet-David. And then sends me this text because Roland Martin, who I affectionately call Rolanda, Roland Martin, he's been in a little pickle lately, has he not? I don't know if you guys have noticed. I don't cover him an awful lot because she's just an easy target. But Roland has been in the news lately. The most recent occurrence of him being in the news was because he inadvertently showed some male nudity on his channel while he was doing a screen share, and he just got ripped to shreds on X for doing so. And Angela Stanton King, who is actually here in my hometown, who's done some work with the Trump campaign and runs her own organization, she had put up a post. And I thought I had all of this already ready. I thought I did. Where is it? Oh, I do have it ready. So I'm not going to show you that, you know, with the man's booty cheeks out. That's just nasty. But I thought Angela said something very, very profound in how most of the males that she knows that are die-hard supporters for the DNC, not all, but she said is a huge, particularly ones at the top that are supporting this agenda, happen to, whether overtly or covertly, have some sort of connection or affinity to the sodomite community. That would be the LGBT community. And so I thought it was funny that when Roland is doing the screen share, that the man's booty cheeks was just up in, he gave some little excuse that didn't really make sense contextually as to why that would be a thing, but Twitter just ripped him up. Well, before Roland did that, Roland messed up. Roland messed up because he tried to come for my people. And if you know anything about me, I am a loyalist to a fault. And once you are in my circle and I give you the label that you're my people, when people come for my people, I got to cut you. So Roland, this is gonna be for you. Roland, you guys, I don't know what possessed him to do this. Roland put up this tweet, and I don't know if you guys can see it. No, that's not it. Let's see. That's not it. It is this one. Roland Martin shared Vince Everett Ellison's trailer for Will You Go to Hell for Me, the documentary that I'm kind of attached to now and that I've been promoting. Amazing film, by the way. Vince shares this tweet, and it says, "Are you willing to go to hell for the Democratic Party? Check out what Tucker Carlson called the most powerful trailer he has ever seen." Now, if you notice here, this date right here, this date is from February. So in order for Roland to share this tweet, he had to go digging through the crates, okay? Roland goes digging through the crates. We're in August now. Oh, shoot, we're September now, but this is late August when this happened. He went digging all the way through the crates to a post dated February the 6th, shares the documentary's trailer, and then adds this commentary right here, which I am about to read for you. He goes, "If you are a black pastor quoting white supremacist Tucker Carlson, you are an enemy to black people." Then he does the unthinkable. Y'all, I don't know what this Negro was thinking. They didn't tell him, y'all. They didn't tell him. He didn't get the memo. He chose violence this day. Then he goes, "That's you, Vince Ellison." And so y'all know I'm new on X. I'm not on there like that. So I get this. This is a screenshot. Vince sends this to me. And he's like, "Oh, so Roland's trying to come for me." And I was like, well, this is interesting because I noticed the date on the tweet. The date on this tweet is February the 6th. And I'm like, oh, okay, so it's obvious you've struck a nerve. Roland, Vince is not a pastor. I know he look casket sharp like he could be, but he's not. He's an author, a political commentator. You can kind of, if you wanted to, put him in the realm of activist, but he's not a pastor. But Roland chose violence this day by coming for my friend Vince Ellison. And so I saw the tweet and I was like, oh, okay, so this is what we doing. So then, and I'm telling y'all this story. I'm going somewhere. I promise you I am. So after that, Vince claps back. Y'all, this Twitter beef is hilarious to me. And I'm going to tell you why it's hilarious after I read the clap back. So Vince replies to him and Tucker, because Roland called Tucker a white supremacist. So you know how these Afro-stitians have to do. These godless goons and disciples of darkness, they think that if they shame you for speaking your mind and saying for saying what you want to say, if they can associate you with white supremacy, they think those terms scare us. Like we just gonna go running because we're afraid. And so in the previous tweet, obviously he had to lump Vince in and imply that Tucker is a white supremacist. Now, I don't know Tucker personally. Maybe, Lord willing, one day I will meet him. But we're going to treat Tucker like he's my people too, just by association. I was very offended by that because I'm like, now, if you actually watch Tucker's content and you're trying to not be disingenuous, you're not going to walk away and think that Tucker is a white supremacist. But I understand they have to label Tucker that way because if you are white and you are a heterosexual male, you're the enemy to their godless agenda. And so they have to label you, and they think if I label you, that is going to disarm you and take away your power. Don't fall for that. I don't believe, obviously, for 1 minute that at this point it bothers Tucker being called a white supremacist, but I'm just educating you, my audience, to let you know this is why they label you and want to call you names, because they think if we can shame, if there's some shame associated with what you do and who you're connected to, that's going to silence you and muffle your voice and get you to run away and say, whoa, they didn't call me a white supremacist. What I was gonna do? I don't want people to think I'm a racist. And I've told y'all plenty of times, I eat racist for breakfast. Like racists I don't wake up thinking about white supremacists. And even if there is an evil white racist that lives to me next door, as long as he don't bother me, I don't care what you think about me. Because I don't live my life for the applause of invisible friends, right? I just don't. If you know who you are in Christ, dear friends, even if you're one of my white brethren and you're watching and Shanika done called you a racist, she don't know you, but just like Pastor Cooper was saying, if you criticize a quote unquote person of color, they have to impugn your character and imply that the reason for the criticism is not legitimate. But the criticism is just because you are black and because you're race, that person is racist. And that's just not true. It is a very juvenile level of argumentation, but they do it and they get away with it. So then Vince claps back, tweets back to Roland Martin and Tucker and says, will you support a party that believes in 9-month abortion, disarming black men, the castration of little boys, the sexual grooming of children? You are an anti-Christian, beta male bigot, Roland Martin. I was like, that's how it's done. I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. He putting him in his place. Notice the date on this tweet. This tweet was sent August 31st. So it's just a couple of days ago. And then Vince replies and says, for your information, punk, white supremacy, he has such a way with words, does not exist to me because there's no white man superior to me, but there are many superior to you. And so I bring up this beef because I want to expose this is laughable that Roland tries to come with this bravado like he's all big and bad with his little keyboard thuggery on Twitter. But it's funny how he goes digging for this tweet from February to share. But what he did not tell y'all, this is what he did not tell y'all. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, don't tell me I didn't pull it up. I didn't bring it. Hold on. I got to pull it up. I thought I had it all queued up, but I did not. 1, 2, 3. Let me refresh my screen because I swore that I uploaded this. So let's see. This is the irony. These are the cowards of the culture. This is all a facade, y'all. This is an act. And I'm going to share why. Okay? So let me drag this in here. Let me download that. So remember when I started talking, I told you guys, you know, Roland's out here keyboard thugging it, thinking he big and bad, thinking if I shame this pastor who's not a pastor, that he'll just ride off into the sunset in obscurity. Because remember, it's too many of y'all Negroes functioning in your freedom, leaving the plantation. They're losing control of the narrative. And when they lose control of the narrative, that impacts them because it impacts their pockets. Because their job is to be to run pass interference for the Democrat Party. And if the numbers bear out to be true, that overwhelmingly they're like 30% of the black community that is not in support of Kamala Harris, that is bad news for Democrats. And that means the people that they're paying to be on the forefront, the Afrostocracy, the pundits, the professors, the preachers, the politicians, and the performers, that means that they are slipping on their job. So now they got to go into overtime. And they go into overtime and they pull little stunts like this. But what they don't tell you is that they are cowards at the core. Now let me show you what I mean by cowards at the core. Let me pull this up. Let me pull this in. So Vince sends me this. Told you, him and Patrick Bet-David. Shout out to the Valuetainment channel. They're doing amazing work over there. I'm actually a fan of Patrick Bet-David. I think his platform is growing by leaps and bounds, and he does a very good job of just practically discussing these issues. And I followed him well before he started talking about politics, when he was just talking about finance and entrepreneurship and things like that. But so Patrick and Vince are having this telephone conversation, and then afterwards they wrap up the conversation, and Vince goes, "Hey Patrick," and I have permission to share this, you guys. I'm not violating anybody's privacy. I was given this information for the sole purpose of sharing it with my audience if I chose to. So thank you, Vince, for sending me the screenshot. So that screenshot goes, "Hi Patrick, Vince Ellison here. This short from my show received over 1 million views in 5 days. Check it out." Patrick responds and says, "Love it. FYI. Roland has been reached out to. I'll keep you posted." Let me give you the context to this. Before this tweet, this exchange, Patrick Bet-David said, I would really like to see a debate between you, Vince, and Roland Martin, or Van Jones, or Charlemagne the God, right? He said, "You know what? Let me see if I can set that up." And y'all know Vince ain't never scared. So he like, bring it, let's do this, right? So the reason why you see in this text exchange, Patrick is saying, "Oh, by the way, we've reached out to Roland. I'll keep you posted." Vince responds and says, "Please do. I'm eager to see your operation in Florida. I'm sure it's impressive. Whoop-de-whoop, whoop-de-whoop. I am missing a tweet. Where is the other message? Hold on. I think I'm missing 1, 2, 3. No, I got to go back through my phone and find it. But essentially, I thought it was interesting how Roland would go digging. He's digging through the crates to find out who Vince Ellison is, and then decides, I'm gonna publicly put this tweet out, call Tucker a white supremacist, and then impugn his character, Vince's character, by saying he's an enemy to black people. But my question, Rolanda, is if you felt that way, why you ain't respond back to Patrick Bet-David and say, yes, absolutely, I'll engage. I'll participate in a debate, since I love debating ideas. Why you ain't responded yet? I mean, it's what, September 4th, ain't nobody heard from you yet. So I'm just trying to figure out, this dog and pony show that you put on Twitter, does it resemble something that happened up in Chicago? Y'all, let me show y'all. This man is a coward. He is out here faking the funk like he's about that life, but he's really not. He's really not, because this is not the first time he's been confronted for running his mouth online, talking crazy and real reckless about people. Let me show y'all this.
I'm going to go over how this beef started. So for those who don't know, I got you covered. The way that this beef started is, it is Roland Martin's fault. He's the one who started it. Jamal Green was just minding his business, okay? So Roland Martin kind of goes on this little bit of a tirade. He starts kind of, making certain tweets about Jamal Green, calling him names, going after him and stuff. We just got to watch what you say. And so after that, Roland Martin decides to do an entire segment on his show about Jamal Green. And let's just play a little bit of that video so you guys can see what he said.
Matt, here was this fool, Jamal Green. Go to my iPad. This fool tweeted, "Does anybody want to tell me what first generation is code for? LOL. Dumbass is first generation. Pay attention to the cryptic words being used to show us what agenda is their agenda. Yet you literally have black folks acting like the Democrats will prioritize you when you have the lowest home ownership rate in the country at 44%. Like, stop." See, Matt, the reason I can't stand fools like this here, and I think this fool ran for mayor of Chicago or something, I don't know, but he's stupid. Here's what.
He did run for mayor of Chicago, and shout out to him for doing that. Running for mayor of a large city is not an easy thing to do. And I thought that his campaign was, well, I didn't pay too much attention to his campaign. I remember he ran, but I remember he said some things that he wanted to do that I was definitely in favor of. I think it's actually courageous when young people like him run for mayor. It takes so much work, paperwork. You got to get signatures. I just think that's kind of lame to go after somebody and said, oh, this fool ran for mayor. What's wrong with running for mayor? Like, I don't know. He approaches Roland Martin. He's clearly trying to confront him. He does not look aggressive to me. He looks aggressive as if he wants to talk because he has a bone to pick with him. But I can't imagine him taking the swing at Roland Martin in a church. Like, if I was Roland Martin, I would be like, okay, let's talk. Like, I wouldn't really be worried in that environment. There's so many people around. Even if something happened, it's not like you're going to get beat up. People are going to break it up. Like, I wouldn't be as afraid as Roland Martin appeared to be. Well, now let's go ahead and analyze the footage again. So I'm going to put it on mute, and we're just going to analyze it. So that's Jamal Green right there coming up to Roland Martin. He's like, 1 second, 1 second. So he clearly doesn't want to talk to him. And then if you really look at just the body language and the gestures, Roland Martin is clearly, he don't want to be a part of that. He don't want nothing to do with that. A black woman comes and tries to break it up. Jamal Green's clearly just trying to talk. I don't even really see Jamal Green raising his hands because you have people in the comments saying that, oh, Jamal Green was coming up there on some tough stuff trying to fight him. I'm just not really getting that vibe. I'm looking at him. He's got his hands crossed. Look, the guy has his hands crossed. He's not really bringing up his hands at all. He comes up there, his hands are crossed. He just doesn't seem like an actual aggressor to me. I guess it appears like he's getting a little bit aggressive, but he's really not. People are just touching him, so that's why, it kind of looks the way it does. But, yeah, very interesting. And so after that, somebody took a picture of Roland Martin looking afraid, and then Jamal Green posted this picture, and he said, new profile pic, and it's a picture of Roland Martin just looking scared. He's looking at Jamal Green like it's one of those Kia boys trying to take his car. He looking at him like oh my God, like you can't lie. This is pretty funny.
I went ahead and I wanted to share that with you guys because the context matters. The context matters. Here in this clip, yeah, Jamal Green minded his business, right? And he didn't do nothing to nobody. And Roland Martin, here he comes trying to shame somebody once again by Jamal. All Jamal was doing was pointing out the obvious. He was pointing out the obvious in that tweet that the illegal alien situation, how it's decimating his city. He's an activist up in Chicago. Now, I don't know much about Jamal Green, but when I read the Twitter post that he put up, and let me see if I have it. I don't know if I do. Let me see if I do. I don't have it. Let me see if it's in my download somewhere so that we can actually engage with the clip. I want to engage with that tweet to give it some context. So let me see. Now, these are all from today. Which one is this? Nah, that's not it. That's not it. Oh, snap. I can't. I don't know where it is. Maybe it's in my pictures. No. I might be able to find it. I'm going to find it. But when I read the Twitter post that Jamal Green put up, there was nothing wrong with the post other than the fact that it goes against the DNC narrative. And it points to this reality that the Democrats are absolutely displacing Americans. And it demonstrates that they're actually in favor of illegal aliens, and they're not even hiding it. They're doing it in your face, taking your resources, using your tax dollars, your money, to subsidize and fund people and just so that they can just waltz all in here, bypassing the normal immigration process in favor of jumping the line, right? So the idea is, well, I'm just going to debo my way in, expecting for someone to take care of them. There was nothing absolutely wrong with what Jamal Green said in that tweet. But notice how Rolanda, how he interacted with it, right? He called the tweet stupid. He didn't engage with the ideas or the substance of what was said, but he said the tweet was stupid. Then he pointed out the fact that we should not Jamal pointed out the fact that we should not be supporting Democrat-sponsored welfareism. But what you have to understand is Roland Martin is part of the Afrostocracy. I refuse to call him a journalist. I'd rather, he's more of a Democrat propagandist, right? His sole job is to run past interference for the Democrat Party. And he, you guys, y'all, he is the true definition of a house Negro. Now I know I still got, there you go, right there. Listen, the definition of a house Negro, I have had the pleasure of reading a preview copy of Kevin McGary's book, and it's called Revealed. Kevin McGary is a gentleman that I've recently been connected with and introduced to. I'm going to have him on the show sometime this month. Kevin, if you're watching, I'm getting my life together. I'm sorry, but you sent me 2 books and a preview copy of the new one, and I can't read that fast. There's a lot going on, but I promise we're going to get you on the show. But in this book, the book is not even out yet. It drops soon, and as soon as it drops, I promise you guys, I will share it with you. But what Kevin goes on to talk about in that book, he takes the archetype of the house Negro, and he applies it to individuals not based on their ethnicity, right? But more so, he describes it as this mindset that you can apply to any person who uses cultural pressure to get people to conform. So somebody like a Roland Martin. So they use this tactic. The tactic by the lefticals is where they try to cancel you, be vitriolic with their rhetoric towards you, and essentially the whole goal, they want to socially annihilate you. They want to do so by their mischaracterization and their words, and they want to use it like it's this form of social voodoo in order to get certain people or people in general to have a certain perception about you. And they do this because you dared to speak the truth. You're one of the ones that got away, or you're one that has always functioned in your freedom. You dared to expose the unfruitful deeds of darkness. You dared to function in your freedom, something that they are too cowardly to do. And so because of that, they have feelings of resentment towards you, and they sit around looking at you just like this. Y'all see that? There's Steven. This is Steven from Django. This is who Roland Martin is. That's Roland right there. Because see, he doesn't have the courage to just be honest with himself. And he darn for sure can't be honest with his audience. So what he has to do is he has to play this role that they've carved out for him. And they're like, we will pay you as long as you just maintain the status quo and keep the black folks from running away. He maintains that status quo. Timber, we're not doing this today, baby. We're not doing this today. They've carved out this place for him, where in exchange for his very soul, he has to play along. He has to play along and play this role and act as if the Democrat Party is trying to push to the American people good ideas. And these ideas are not bad. These are good. And people who think like Jamal Green and Vince Everett Ellison and people like myself, we are the enemies of black people. That's the message. The overarching message that he is paid to disseminate into the airwaves. Now he knows that the policies and the platform of the DNC do nothing to advance the social or financial progress of black Americans, but he's willing to sell out his own people just so he can feel like he's out here doing something meaningful and worthwhile, and he gets paid very well. He sits up there with those faux-looking African ugly dashikis on, trying real hard to please his master. He goes into overtime, all the while looking with envy at the American Negro, who just stands tall and without fear calls out the wickedness of the Democratic Party. And we do so without fear. We are not afraid of you, Roland Martin. We are knowing that to do and say the things that we are saying spells social suicide, but we do it anyway. Because selling out And watching the destruction of our people in this nation is something that we are not willing to do, ever. You can't put a price on this. It's not in our blood. It's just not who we are. You've been able to fool some of us some of the time, but you ain't fooling all of the people all of the time. And so Roland about to get his Negro wake-up moment. But when we examine Jamal Green's tweet, he was absolutely right. Black Americans do have the lowest home ownership rates in this country. He did not lie. But Roland can't stand people like Jamal because he speaks the truth, and Roland is an enemy to the truth. He's a liar just like his father, the devil, and there is zero truth in him. He was a liar from the beginning, and the works of his father he will always do. It is his default position. He can't help it. But Jamal is trying to just point out how the Democrats are prioritizing the illegals. Everyone knows that. These people are living it. Their observed reality is pointing to the fact that these people are getting money and getting resources. But Roland doesn't want people to know that. So instead of him engaging on the basis of the merit of what Jamal Green was saying, he just went on the attack because that's what he is paid to do. He's paid to do that. I was talking to a good friend of the channel, Sister Chicken Grease. She messaged me the other day, and I just wanted to read what she said because she summarized what we were dealing with this Roland Martin situation. And she was saying, notice how these drag wolves throw dirt and shade at fellow believers. Notice how they went after Vince Ellison, a man's man. And then the young man who started the school for black boys, that's King Randall. Y'all remember that? Do y'all remember when King Randall was on Roland's show? And Roland could not engage with the argument, so instead he'd rather to demean that young man, shame him with the most absurd, idiotic argument just because they can't have you functioning in your freedom. They can't have that. You have to be beholden to the Democrat Party if it is the last thing you do. Voluntarily signing up for your own demise. Also that he can get rich and sit in his ivory tower. But she goes, these closet gay men hate strong men because they expose their inadequacies. Now, I'm not saying Rolanda is a sodomite or a switch hit. I don't know him like that, but I don't know. All my male friends, they don't have pop-ups and screen shares of just men naked with their butt cheeks out. Like that's just not the kind of content that's in their algorithm. The algorithm knows what you like, Roland. If you like it, YouTube, for the most part, will suggest things that it believes that you're interested in. So that's all I'm saying. But I don't know. I mean, he's married allegedly to a woman, but I don't know. I don't know anything about that. But she also went on to say, real men, no excuses, get things done, and they protect women. Roland makes excuses, gets nothing done, and when pressed by Jamal, what did Rolanda do? He hid behind a woman. Y'all saw Big Mama that he hid behind? He sure did. My girlfriend also says, she goes, masculinity is dangerous to homosexuals, be they open or closeted. Remember the response of the men of Sodom and Gomorrah towards Lot. They resented him for not partaking in their evil deeds. I said, girl, my girl broke that down. Shout out to Chicken Grease if she's in the live chat. She's one of our moderators over here. She's probably at work. But yes, Rolanda was so rude to King Randall. And I still haven't gotten over that. It made me so angry that someone so young, full of purpose, one of the purposeful patriarchs, as young as he is, who's actually doing something and getting results. And here you got, fake dashiki wearing Roland Martin, always got something smart to say because he's accomplishing nothing other than spilling all his effeminate energy over here on the internet that nobody wants to watch and listen to anyway. But I thought it was interesting that instead of engaging with the substance of what Jamal was saying. Instead, he ran to Twitter to try to shame Jamal. So during the DNC convention, while up in Chicago, which is Jamal Green's city, Jamal pulled up on Roland, right? And I mean, I'm talking like, I ain't never scared. Like, listen, you was talking like you was Froggy, so let's go ahead and jump. Jamal pulls up on Roland. He pulled up on him and confronted him man to man, not aggressive, but like, you called me stupid, you said this, you said that. And what does Rolanda do? Like the chestless man that he is, he hides behind a woman. Now, I don't necessarily have to agree with everything Jamal Green supports. I don't know if we would even share the same worldview, but I can respect him because, like a man, he went to confront Rolanda to his face. Nothing Jamal Green said warranted such a vitriolic attack, but this is what they do. When they see Americans, particularly Black Americans, functioning in their freedom, people like Rolanda can't stand to see that. They despise it because they don't have the courage to do it themselves. They wish they could stand on business. Take those shackles off because they hurt. Your wrists are chafed, your ankles they ashy and they itchy from the shackles on. But they can't because they're paid to keep the free-thinking Negroes in check. They gotta be Stephen. They gotta do this. So when Vince sent me the screenshot, I said, oh, he must didn't learn his lesson. He didn't think fat meat was greasy. So Roland shares the trailer. Thank you, Roland, by the way, for sharing the trailer. Actually, since you shared it, it's gotten 84,000 views that we're so grateful and appreciative for. And within 24 hours, lots of DVD sales went up. So, hey, we appreciate it. Sales are out of control. Thank you. But the trailer starts getting traction. And then Vince hits Roland with the clapback that I showed you. I'll show it to you guys again. He hits him with the clapback. But I thought it was interesting that he wants to do this on the stage on Twitter, but you can't reply to a text when Patrick Bet-David reaches out to you to arrange a debate between you and Vince Ellison. I don't understand. The whole exchange is funny to me because Roland loves to be a Twitter thug. But we already know how he acts and responds when a man actually rolls up on him and confronts him to his face. The little man runs like a little girl, and then he hides behind somebody's big mama to protect him. But that's what chestless men do. If he was really about that life, he would have stood there and engaged with Jamal to either explain himself, provide clarification, perhaps, apologize after hearing the argument, say he was confused, something, but you stand there like a man and you engage. You engage. But the truth of the matter is he was never interested in engaging with the argument. He never does because he doesn't have one. How can you defend a party that supports abortion up to the 9th month? Black people who you claim to love and idolize all things blackness so much, but you won't talk to your audience about how black people are beyond the rate of replacement in this country because not enough of us are being born. Most of us don't even get to see the light of day beyond the womb. You, sir, are the ones supporting a party that all they care about is womb assassination, especially the killing of black babies, which destroys our progeny. But you want to call somebody a white supremacist? Surely you jest. You cannot be serious. Rolanda Martin. Roland cannot defend or explain why disarming black people is a good thing. Yet at the same time, he believes that black people are being hunted down. Well, I don't know. If we're being hunted down, wouldn't it make sense for us to arm ourselves with guns? Wouldn't you want black people to be able to defend themselves? Are you not aware that it is your duty to protect yourself, and the best way to do that is with a weapon and not relying on the government to protect and take care of you? Now, I know you only care about a black person getting shot when it's shot by a white cop, but we hear crickets from you when Pookie and Ray Ray are terrorizing your people, the ones you claim you love so much in the hood. You have nothing to say of value about the menacing and unruly and thuggish behavior of a certain segment of the black community, but instead, you always try to come for the Negroes, the black Americans who are actually doing something productive, trying to make a difference with measurable, actionable results, because you aren't talented enough to do anything other than to sit on YouTube, run your mouth, and then hide like a little girl when a man rolls up on you and steps to you and approaches you to have a conversation about ideas. And so, speaking of grown men approaching you, you were approached by a highly respected man. Patrick Bet-David reached out to your people. Don't act like you ain't know. Don't act like you ain't get the message. Patrick reached out to debate ideas of merit and substance with Vince Everett Ellison, and neither you or your people has yet to respond. But yet, several days after that message was sent, you go digging through the Twitter files to a tweet that dates back to February. I don't know. Is it you who dropped the ball? Your people dropped the ball? I don't know. No one has yet to get back to him. But I find it funny that a few days after Patrick reaches out to you, you managed to find the time to post this tweet. This ain't the tweet. This is the tweet. That one right there. That's just amazing to me. I don't know. Maybe it's a coincidence. It's just incredible how that happens. What this tells me, it tells me that you know who Vince Ellison is. And you know exactly how to get in touch with him, yet you resorted to keyboard thuggery. That's what you chose to do instead. Because you know, and I know, that Vince would mop the floor with you and have you over rocking in the corner, holding yourself, crying like somebody stole your bike. You know it and I know it. Why didn't you have the big mama who was protecting you from Jamal Green reply to the invite, Roland? This is not conjecture. These are statements of fact, not opinion. Patrick Bet-David has reached out to Roland Martin requesting a debate between him as well as Van Jones and Charlamagne tha God. Surprisingly, the only one so far to respond has actually been Charlamagne. And at least Charlamagne was honest and said he don't want no smoke. Okay, he was like, listen, I don't even like Charlamagne. But at least I can respect the fact that he's like, those ain't the kind of problems I want. I'm good. I'm going to pass. And I would argue even Van Jones, y'all know, oh, he like doing his crying anyway, but at least he kept his mouth shut. Because see, Van already got checked by Vivek Ramaswamy at the DNC for talking reckless about Vivek. And so Vivek confronted Van Jones at the DNC, man to man, eye to eye, not aggressively, not implying any sort of violence, but he said what needed to be said to Van Jones, and Van Jones apologized. But Roland sharing the trailer of Will You Go to Hell for Me, and then calling Vince Ellison an enemy to black people is projection of the worst kind. This is why no one respects you. And this is why black people are waking up, because you can't defend in any way, shape, form, or fashion how Vince could be the enemy of black people, but yet the things that you support, abortion up to the 9th month, you don't even have the ability or the concern to protect our children, the most vulnerable amongst us. You want black people to turn a blind eye to the invasion of their communities by people who have not earned the right to be here lawfully, sopping up their resources, and you just want us to be charitable and act like that's okay. But the only reason why you do that is because you are a shill for the Democrat Party. And they pay you well to stay on code to promote this destructive, calamitous culture of failure, which has us at the bottom. And we are done tolerating the likes of you. We're done. So now you're out here, everybody making fun of you because you got men's booty cheeks showing up on the internet. And in your sick mind, you think that's normal. Well, that happens all the time, and I'll do it again. We know you will. We know. But y'all, masculine men don't explain away or try to excuse that or minimize that unless that's who they are or that's what they're into. And so I chose to go on this little rant today because I want to demonstrate the fact that it takes a lot of courage and fortitude and tenacity to stand up against these wicked people because they will try to destroy your name, want to associate you with bigotry and white supremacy, like that's supposed to make us scared and be quiet. Unlike you, I've been called worse by somebody way better. And I know where my identity is hidden in, and it is not hidden in a party or my ethnicity. And the work that we're doing out here, it is meaningful. And it is changing people's lives. And it's adding value to the marketplace in ways that you could only imagine. And we don't have to take no white person's money to do it. We fund ourselves. We work hard by the sweat of our brows, and we build something meaningful that generations behind us will be proud of. But the last thing we're going to do is sell out our own people for 30 pieces of silver and then run, throw the rock and then run and put our hands behind our backs like a coward. So I don't have any problems with Angela Stanton King dragging your... I'm going to be nice. I think I've said enough. I think I was personally bothered because that film has placed me on a trajectory to give me more of a voice, to make me want to be more outspoken and more vocal, to uncover the unfruitful deeds of darkness and to wake up people who look like me and who don't. To speak to the culture, the American people, regardless of their ethnic expression, to say, you don't need to deal with these intolerant, evil people anymore. You confront them to their face and you call them out on their wickedness. That's what you do. But running from them, like, did you think we were going to be afraid? We've already counted the cost, Roland. We know the reason why you say the things you say, because you're too much of a punk to count the cost. We've counted the cost. The price was steep, but we were willing to pay it because we believe in what we're doing, because we know it is undergirded by truth. And truth is objective, and it is knowable. And we are endeavoring to share that message of truth with as many people as we can, regardless of the cost and what it takes, because we know what's required. The people I have surrounded myself with, the purposeful patriarchs that I highlight on this channel, they need to be celebrated. But we don't need the fake applause and the approval of men. Even if nobody clapped, they would still do it, because they do it because they understand the mission and the purpose behind what it is that they do. And so I just needed to take a moment to let y'all know that all that keyboard thugging that he does on the internet, it's an act. He's a coward. He's weak. And he's a poor excuse for a man that no one in the culture needs to be looking to, because he got to hide behind a woman to protect him from some words, from a face-to-face confrontation with another man who he was out here talking reckless about. And you, sir, listen. I was real nice in this one. I was real nice. I mean, Y'all think I went easy. I don't think I went too hard. I didn't go ham like I can. I wasn't even prepared to do this today. I was still prepping, as you can see, because I didn't have all my clips pulled up. I went nice today. Being a Christian means that, yes, we love our enemies, but it does not mean that we bow down to our enemies. We speak the truth to our enemies. And sometimes the truth can be like, you are wicked. You're wicked. What you represent is wicked. Everybody you roll with is wicked. You need to be called out. It doesn't make you a punk. We stand clothed in the righteousness of Christ, not in our own strength. But being weak, lacking courage and fortitude, that is not who we are. So I don't know, maybe you used to dealing with these old school conservatives who were afraid. It's some new people on the block. It's a new day. And we are making change and making waves, so much so that you went digging through the crates to post a tweet from February. And we're so grateful for that. That was 84,000 views as of a couple of days ago. I don't know how many views that trailer has now, but I spent a week in YouTube jail for sharing that trailer. And it was worth it. Because the impact and the change of what that film is going to do and the content that comes as a result of that film, it is meaningful work. And it is work that I stand behind. So I've said my piece, Rolanda. The ball is in your court. You can debate ideas, or you can go on Twitter like the effeminate man that you are and continue the Twitter beef. But unless you're going to come to the table and say, let's debate the ideas in a neutral setting, you might want to refrain from doing this, because this is not a good look for you, sir. And that's all I have to say about that. You come for my friends, I got to cut you. And I cut just a little bit. I just slap you around a little bit. It wasn't too hard. You're going to be all right. You're going to heal up just fine. YouTube jail was a badge of honor. I was like, ooh, I'm doing something right. And I didn't even say anything. I just shared the trailer. But anyway, Donovan said, looking for that diss album in the record crate. Listen, y'all, you don't come for my friends. Okay? I am a loyalist, sometimes to a fault. And if you're my people and you come for my people, I got to cut you. Just got to cut you just a little bit. I don't think I whipped up on him too bad. Jamal Green did way more than I could have ever done because he confronted you in person. I'm a lady. I'm going to just fall back. I'm going to let the men handle it. But I needed to lend my commentary on this. I felt that it was important to do that. Very important to do that. So let me go ahead. Yeah, I know Susie Q. Susie Q said, if anything, you just hurt his feelings. Let's engage with these super chats. Hey, Anthony. Shout out to you, friend. He says, that made my morning refreshing. Thank you. God bless. Thank you, Brother Anthony, for your support. I'm so grateful every time you stop by the channel and you bless me with a super chat and you give some word of exhortation and encouragement. I greatly appreciate that. Shout out to Sister Deborah. Hi, beautiful. She says, love you, April. Keep it coming. I love you too. I long for the day when I can just meet so many of you in public, like in real life. Some of y'all I've met by accident. Some of y'all roll up on me at the grocery store, and that was awkward. I got rolled up on at the Costco. That was scary. The other day, this man who had just had mouth surgery, he was like, you on YouTube? I was like, yes. He was like, well, I just had mouth surgery and I can't really say it, but I saw you. And I was like, oh, hey. It's awkward, but I love y'all. The person that I am here is the same person that I am in person. So anytime I get to meet one of you guys, it is amazing. And it's an honor to actually meet y'all, because y'all are the reason why I show up every single week. Because y'all come, y'all laugh with me, y'all ride with me through all of my technical issues like we had earlier today. Y'all just stay true to the game. And so I love you guys for that. My girl, Susie Q, She says, thank you for platforming faithful pastors who we would never know about otherwise. You are welcome, Susie Q. One of my greatest desires is that I expose my audience to just some of the most biblically sound resources by way of faithful shepherds, so that you don't need to be on edge when it comes to, well, who do I watch? Who do I listen to? You know, is this church safe? That's why I have the church directory on my website. That's why I try to bring on voices that the mainstream media is not going to highlight. A lot of these men, but these men are laboring faithfully, loving the people of God, loving on the people of God, and standing strong, holding the line. And I think it's important to highlight them and to expose you guys to them so that you can support their ministries instead of giving to these godless goons who's just taking your money and you get nothing of spiritual value in return. Spirit Fruit Orchard, hi! How are you? Spirit Fruit Orchard says, coming from Nebraska. You know, Nebraska. It's funny that you mentioned that. I was talking to another friend today. Shout out to Virgil Walker. That is, y'all, my brother. We've been friends for a good little while. And Virgil shared with me, he has this article that he just penned because right now in Nebraska, they are really going through a cultural war where they are being faced. Hold on, that's not what I wanted to. This is what I want to click on. Nope, that's not it either. Where is the article? Virgil just published an article, you guys, on g3men.org. And it's about Nebraska's ballot initiatives enshrining death in the state's constitution. As you guys know, Roe v. Wade has been overturned, meaning our Supreme Court has actually rightfully recognized that the right to delete a baby in the womb is not afforded under the Constitution. And they basically overturned that decision because they've recognized that constitutionally it's unconstitutional, which means we can't federally regulate this. It goes back to the states. So it does not mean that abortion is illegal or banned. That is not what Roe v. Wade did. It took it out of the hands of the federal government, pushed it back to the states. That is where it belongs, and that is where it's supposed to be. So we celebrate that. That's a good thing. But here's the problem. A lot of these states are being put into a position where now they have to make the choice. What is going to be the life agenda and the pulse in this state as it relates to personhood and preserving the lives of the unborn in the womb? And this article, and I'm going to encourage you guys to read it, Virgil published today, talking about it's time for Nebraska to step up and be a beacon of human dignity, equality, and the sanctity of life. And he's using this as a reference because Nebraska was integral in terms of having the right view of wanting to abolish slavery. And now we have this other issue, which is the preservation and the acknowledgement of personhood in the womb. And the issue is right now, I'll just briefly, I want you to go and read it, but right now, Nebraska is being placed in a position to, this November, there's an initiative for them to put on the ballot, and it's led by Planned Parenthood, of course, and the ACLU of Nebraska. They want to amend the Nebraska Constitution to protect the right of abortion up to the point of fetal viability. This initiative is nothing short of a constitutional assault on the sanctity of life by embedding the so-called right to abortion in the state's constitution. This measure would effectively dehumanize the unborn, reducing their worth to a matter of weeks or months. Let's be clear, Virgil writes, viability is a moving target, right? Because you really can't land that plane. Defined not by any intrinsic human value, but by the arbitrary standards of medical technology. This initiative is a gross violation of the principle that every human being, from the moment of conception, is made in the image of God and deserves complete protection under the law. And so there's two issues. You have that initiative, and then the second one is the pro-life compromise. So, you know, there's so many things going on right now. A lot of these states are being presented with these moral questions. And I just want to encourage the people of God to, we have to be on the right side of this discussion. And I would encourage you to go ahead and read Virgil's articles so you can familiarize yourself with the different initiatives that are being placed on the ballot. But yeah, I brought that up. I can't remember exactly why I brought that up. I think I was just talking about my friends and how we're all out here in our own different spheres of influence, doing the hard work, fighting against the culture, standing on the truth of God's word. And we are attacked for it. Yes, they will call you names, but that's fine. My question is, if your arguments and your ideas are so good, why won't you debate us? Why won't you meet at a neutral place and have these discussions? But instead you resort to childish Twitter beef like you're 5. Come on, Roland, you can do so much better than this. You really can. But once again, thank you. Thank you for sharing the trailer. It definitely got more eyes on the documentary, and resulted in an uptick in sales. So that's wonderful. Lamont, hi brother, how are you? Please tell the beautiful Miss Liberty I said hello. He says the confetti parrot character taking off his hat saying, "You are amazing. Thank you. I am so honored and humbled by your words of kindness, your acts of kindness by way of the super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Brother Lamont, please go and hug Liberty for me. She has been supporting me for so long. She has been probably one of my top customers over at the Standard Home and Living Lifestyle Store. If you guys are unfamiliar with my Christian lifestyle brand, you can go over there and get all kinds of book studies and devotionals and journals to aid you in your sanctification and growing in the grace and knowledge of God. And Sister Liberty has stocked up. She always gets something. If I make a recommendation, 9 times out of 10, she probably already owns it. And so I've been grateful for her support these past 24 months. And then we have Lachelle. Hey, girly. Wrong. Didn't mean to put that up. Shout out to you, Lachelle. Thank you so much. She says, she sends the lemon character offering a gift to the baby lemon. Thank you so much for this super chat. This is actually a super sticker. I really, really appreciate that. So you guys, we've been on here 2 hours and 48 minutes on a Wednesday afternoon, and that's a lot. Shout out to you, Brother Corey, one of our members, one of my Facebook friends. Last night, Corey messaged me literally while I was on the radio, the Shelley Winter Show, WSB Atlanta 95.5. Corey messages me like, "Are you on with Shelley Winter?" And I said, "I sure am." I was like, "Are you listening?" And he was. You guys, last night, I was on with Shelley Winter. Shout out to you, Shelley. If you're in the Atlanta area, Shelley is a staple in the conservative movement. And he called me up the other day. He was like, "Hey, I want you to come down to the studio on Tuesday. We'll have Vince Everett Ellison call in, and you come on down and we'll do an interview." And it was, y'all, let me tell you something. I had a great time, but I could never do radio. There are so many moving parts to doing radio. I don't have the patience for it. You got the newsroom over here, and they have this amazing new news. I don't know if you call them in radio the news anchor or news. I don't know what you call them, but I love her voice. Every time this girl was reading the news, I was just sitting there like, her voice was so soothing. And when you see her and you hear her voice, they didn't really match up. And I was like, how does she do that? Oh, it was incredible to listen to. And she's new over there. I don't remember her name, and I didn't get to meet her formally, but I could see her through the plexiglass. And then you're in the radio, I call it the radio cockpit, And it's just mics everywhere. It's just all these moving parts. Then you got these big old bulky headphones on. Y'all know how I am about my hair. I can't, I don't like hats. So the headphones, I didn't like that part. Then in the other part, the producer and Shelly, they yell back and forth and I'm confused. I don't know what's happening. And then it's all these breaks. Y'all, I can't do radio. Radio, it moves very fast. They do have a lot of breaks. It's difficult for you to flesh your thoughts out in a meaningful way because before you know it, it's time for another break. And so it's not my cup of tea. But I was so grateful to be on there. And I respect Shelly so much. And he has watched me grow and bloom and flourish and always ask about the children and see how everybody is doing. So it was fun to do that last night. As soon as he shares that or something, I don't know how they do radio, if it's audio and video, I'm not sure. But Brother Corey was very encouraging to tell me that I was doing a great job. And I said, thank you, because you really can't tell with radio. Nephew, what are you talking about, Grace Point? He says, so no, Standard of Truth radio show. It depends. It depends, nephew. If I did do a radio show, it would need to be video based that happened to stream to radio. I am a video person. It's the visual, it's the optics for me. I believe that's part of what has allowed the channel to grow. I pull you guys in. Y'all have to see my facial expressions. You have to see my mannerisms and how animated I get when I'm talking about something super, super passionate. You can't see that with radio. It's just not the same. So it depends. If I was offered that opportunity to do radio, I'd have to tweak those terms and it would have to be video that happens to, in some form or fashion, convert to a radio platform. But it would have to be primarily video. I like to see my guests when I'm talking to them. Talking on the phone, that's not my thing. I don't know. Cynthia asked, am I going to address the Democrats blocking the reparations bill in California? I did hear about that. And I'm trying to remember the basic details and the reasons why they did it. But y'all, I could have told you that. I keep trying to tell y'all this reparations is a pipe dream. Right? It's a pipe dream that is never going to happen. And the reason why it's never going to happen, because the people who are actually responsible and probably owe reparations, i.e. the Democrat Party, their pockets ain't deep enough for it, nor do they want to do it. They just use it as a juicy carrot to dangle in front of you to just keep you on the hamster wheel and to keep you like the abused wife who said, he said he wasn't gonna hit me no more. And I know he just popped me in the lip and I had to get stitches. But I believe that next time it's gonna be different, and then it's never different. That's what reparations is to Democrats. Conservatives, we already understand that mathematically that math will never make sense. We also understand that as a Christian, I understand the fact that you can't impugn and try to get a whole people group, just lump them all in together and say you are responsible and you need to pay for somebody else's sin. It doesn't compute. And then two, they want to put money towards studies to study reparation, but there's nothing to study unless you're going to study, okay, well, what percentage of white Southerners owned slaves? And of that, who were those families? And then the question you'll need to ask, well, even if you can identify all of the individuals that owned the slaves, you would still then have to figure out how is it that their descendants are now responsible to pay the reparations from something that their ancestors did? And then two, who's the recipient? Who's the recipient of the reparation? Would I be eligible? My paternal grandparents weren't even born here. They were born in the Caribbean. Grandma's from Dominican Republic, grandpa from St. Thomas. Do I get reparations, or do I just get a portion that represents the percentage that I might be eligible for? Like, it's dumb. It's dumb. It is silly. The amount of time that we are spending begging. Oh, now I'm not saying that there's this white supremacist system, but according to them, they say that the system is a white supremacist system. You actually want me to spend time, money, and energy and resources begging a white supremacist system to give me something? That's crazy to me. I have no concept of begging a person who allegedly hates my guts and doesn't like me, and thinks they're superior to me. You want me to beg them for something? No, I ain't gonna be able to do it. I'm just not built like that. I cannot do that. Work for the believer is honorable. We work and we earn. That's what we do. We don't beg. We don't beg, we don't whine and cry and try to force people to do anything for us. True Christian charity is where the giver is giving willingly and the recipient is receiving with a spirit of gratitude, not grievance, not with animosity and hatred in your heart. So no, listen, you ain't gonna ever get me to, I will engage in the discussion on reparations, but I don't want it. Because it's silly. It makes absolutely no sense that this many years post-slavery, they want to actually have a discussion about give me my check. Go get a job. How about that? Go get a job. Can we talk about that? Why you don't want to work? Can we talk about why work that is honorable, that you get to receive the benefits and the fruit of your labor, you don't want to do that, but you just want someone to give it to you? I'm sorry. It's a no. It's going to be a no for me. Yeah. See, Shelley is out here speaking way too much truth. Shelley says Democrats were the slave owners. Make them pay reparations. That's my point. If you're going to beg from the guilty party and leave the rest of us out of it. Y'all fight amongst yourselves. Because the rest of us are out here making moves and doing things and being productive and raising our children and trying to fight off communism. That's what we're doing. Y'all can go over there and fight about some reparations. So that's fine. But anyway. Right. Oh, no. See, they're not going to personally give out of their coffers. You think Michelle's trying to give some? Yeah, I've been hanging around some of the wrong people. I was about to say something. It's fine. It's fine. Y'all, I got to get up out of here. I need to, what do I need to do? I need to get ready I got to prepare dinner, feed some children, I'm sure, check on my mama. And I have to eat because I'm starving. And y'all, food is like an afterthought these days. I just don't eat. But I've enjoyed spending this time with you guys. You guys are an amazing audience. And I will probably separate this aspect of the live stream from the first portion so that if you just want to see the interview with Dr. Cooper, you'll be able to see that. And then if you want to listen to me drag Rolanda Martin, you can listen to that as well. But I love you guys with the love of the Lord. Until next time, Lord willing, Friday is up in the air. I don't know if I'm going to live stream, but we shall see. But until next time, you guys, grace and peace.